Hello. Happy Thursday, Internet. Hi, beautifully. Thanks for joining me in chat. So, I'm finally going to finish the remote viewing video. Before, we were reading a book, and I took that book and I made it shorter. Hey, Paul. Good evening. Thanks for hanging out. So, I'm glad you're here because that reminds me, I used your model after being on your show, and I decided to make myself little segments for my show, if for nothing else to keep me on task. So, first things first, I was going to say hello. Okay, so it's going to be a little lame while I get used to this, but where all the white women at? I mean, they here somewheres. The only white woman so far is Paul, but they will show up. It's okay. This is Thursday night, so technically it's called Off the Record. Sorry I started late. When I was making my show, something told me to start at 6:30. And like, it never manifested what that was. I just had to wait around an extra half an hour to start. So sorry. Sorry if that was sucky for you, but I was like, maybe something's going to happen right at 6 o'clock and this is going to be perfect, but nothing happened at all. So I did see one thing on the internet this week that I thought that it was funny, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to start my shows or I'll end my shows. That kind of just depends how it goes. Right now I have the layout where I'm going to start the show by doing a segment called The Truman Show or Truman Show Moments or something like that. Look, bam, Truman Show Moments. And these are just moments that actually happened in real life that made me know that this is a simulation, or just funny moments. I don't know what it's really going to be, because I had this one in mind. Let me share it with you. I had this one in mind, and I found out literally like 2 hours ago that it's not real. The whole thing is not real. It's this. Wait, where is it? There's a damn fly who woke up in here like every time. Oh no, where's the... Okay, well, there was this one thing called... It was like... How did I lose this? It was some stupid shit about there's aliens. There's no aliens on Mars, but Human wrote it. And it's funny, I used to laugh. Somebody like made a meme where it was like, nice try alien, because Human. And I found out today that whole thing, it was a real article, but the whole thing was a joke. Like, there really wasn't a Human. But that was one of those funny moments I was hoping to show you, but I'm not gonna be able to. But I have other ones. So the only other thing, this is what sparked it, to be fair. Let me share this with you. I'm gonna fucking kill this fly. Seriously. I'm so sorry that this happens every time. I swear he's activated by when I hit live. That's how I know he's a government spy. This government spy fly. Okay, this is it though. I was minding my own business on the archive, looking at music on the Internet Archive, and I was going through an article and I found this. And I was like, I didn't do it. I was minding my own business when they put this faggot up here. So anyways, I was like, the simulation is breaking. And then last night, when I was searching up, I found down this Marina Abramovic hole or whatever, for one of my next videos about satanic ritual abuse. And I was on Reddit, and she has this thing where she does a Q&A and she answers every question. If you're familiar with Marina Abramovic, she does this like performance art where she's trying to like bring herself to the brink of death every time, or just boredom, I guess. One time she just stared at people for 30 days in a row and didn't say anything. So one of these first questions was, are you going to answer any of these questions? Just stared at us from across the table. And I sat here last night, it was whatever o'clock, and just laughed my face off, right? And the very next comment is this weird shit. It says, I sat across from you at MoMA, but you did not recognize me. Why not? In the days and weeks before I sat with you, this is where she just sat across from somebody and stared. I had sat somewhere else for hours in an office in the Lower East Side typing the sounds I hear from headphones. They were the sounds of your voice. You spoke of your life and of your work. I was transcribing your words, blah, blah, blah. It's this weird fucking comment. The first reply to that was, what? And I died laughing at this guy. Oh, I hope you guys can see this. Can I make it bigger? He said, what? And this person said, hearing aid bot, ahem. And then in all caps and bold, they rewrote the comment. I laughed out loud for, I don't know. If I was carpeted in here, I would have rolled on the floor laughing. I thought this shit was fucking hilarious. He said, what? And he just wrote it bigger and in bold. I sat across from you at MoMA. Oh, I love this person. I love whoever did this. And then the only other thing I was going to show you was yesterday. I asked the friggin' AI bot to draw me or to create an image of a lady smoking a bong, a podcaster smoking a bong. And they were like, that's inappropriate. We're not fucking doing that. And I was like, I told it, a bong is just a water pipe. Can you show me a podcaster smoking a water pipe? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And it showed me these two images. The first one is this one. And they gave her a marijuana sleeve for her arm. I'm like, oh, this is the thing. They knew I was going to put weed in my water pipe. And then the second one was this one. I'm like, I feel like you're trying to get me banned. I didn't ask for any of this paraphernalia. There was actually a third image. I don't know why I didn't save it. The third image was a lady holding a glass of water with a pot leaf on the glass. I'm like, all right. Water bongs. Okay. That's really it. I actually love hanging out with the AI. That probably says something about me. I lost everything. I lost chat and everything because I went searching for an image I didn't find. Hey, Daniel. Good to see you. With the flock. Thanks for hanging out. Vicky, hi. Open casket? What are y'all talking about? Why did she point to her cleavage when she said paraphernalia? Because that's where the damn weeds are. She doesn't actually have boobs. AI done fucked with this lady a lot. Okay, so the last part of my show, dang, she looks weird. Let me look at the other lady. She's cute. What do you think? I wish I could take a poll. I think she's cute though. Oh wait, I'm not even showing you her. She's cute. No? Yes? I wasn't showing you her cleavage. I was showing you her arm. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Wait a minute. Can you guys hear me? Okay. You responded, so then you can. Oh, that'll be shitty for 8 minutes of silence. All right. So we're going to get into the remote viewing, but here's the thing. It's not that interesting, this book that I was reading you guys. You might remember we did chapter 1 through 3, and we were just going to read a few chapters every week or whatever. We're not going to do that. The plan is off. This book was really boring. It was very repetitive, and it was like hundreds of pages. I clipped it down to 37 pages, and it's still not something I don't even really want to talk about. But that doesn't mean we're not going to still do this. We're going to still do this. We're just going to do it a little different. We're going to read about this stuff a little. We're going to skim through this. Okay, so I think 2 weeks ago now, we actually talked about this, so you might not remember it, but there was Arvido, like Taekwondo, but not, and they gave everyone belts. And the belts were kind of irrelevant. They were just so you would know that there's a process, and that the process was to get to the beginning and start again with your knowledge of what you're doing or some shit. You didn't really need it. You needed to know how to meditate, how to get yourself to in like I don't know, not a sleeping state, like that right, a meditative state. I don't know. I've never done it. I've never actually meditated, so I don't know. But I have lucid dreamt. And I was listening to a lady talk about astral projecting today, which is kind of like remote viewing. It's all kind of the same shit. Where you have to get into like this hypnotized state where you're awake, able, like consciously able to do shit, but not applying your consciousness to shit. Anyways, there are steps to it, and we'll get to there. We'll get to there. But first, I want to get through this part of this book because it's really boring compared to the other shit we're about to talk about. I only recognize Ken Kundo. Is that from the Barbie movie? Okay, here are the belts. White belt was... We're not even going to go through these. They're irrelevant. They don't have anything to do with anything. You don't earn them. Protocols, method, and application. Protocol is the thing that you don't change. So, like the way that you do it. In other words, it's important that you have one person... Two people in the room. One person is the remote viewer. One person's like his spotter. He's like the guy that is going to talk him through it. Neither of these people know the thing that they want to view. But the third person in this protocol, which just means like this way to do it, they know what you're going to view, but they don't tell you guys. And so protocol is just like how it's done every single time. Two people not knowing, one person knowing. Every single time. And then the method is like the guy who doesn't know, he could decide to put it in an envelope. He could decide to pin it to the fucking roof. The other two guys can decide to take a 10-minute music bath. I don't know if that's a thing, before they do their session. So the method, how they do it, is kind of how they get into it, but the protocol is how it always stays the same. So this book stresses how important protocol is, and then method is obviously up to the people doing it. Because I guess in science, in order for this to be repeatable, they had to like, I don't know, keep some shit. I don't know the words. Okay, we don't need to listen to that. We learned all that kind of for the first 3 chapters. Mental state was chapter 4. I hope you guys don't hate me for going through this so quick, but it's really not interesting. There are different traits for each remote viewer that makes a remote viewer better or worse. Are these them? That's more protocol. It's almost common sense, this stuff. They're saying that you should have some artistic talent, that you need to be more right-brained, I think, or all of this stuff we're going to get into in a whole different paper. So I promise you're not missing anything by me just scrolling through. I just feel like I owe it to you to at least get through this because we started this. And there might be something interesting, but I doubt it. The act of psychic functioning must be at least momentarily important. These are all just little things that need to be important for if the person is going to be in the right state of mind to let this happen to them. So they can't be too skeptical. They can't be too open-minded. The fact that they want to be in the program is called self-selecting. They're self-selecting to do it. That's a bonus. But there's a whole bunch of things. Open to whatever works, highly and uniquely creative, capable of critical thinking, unafraid to voice an opinion, who should not be a remote viewer, determining the probable skill of a remote viewer. None of this matters. I promise it doesn't matter. Physical and real world targeting. We're not doing this. Targeting coordinates. So this guy, I don't know. Okay, so let me get into what actually remote viewing is in case y'all forgot. Right, these are the dudes who were in the program, Hal Putoff and some other dude. And this is what remote viewing is. This is their paper. This is quoted all over the place. It's quoted in the book we're reading. And I think actually the book is extrapolated from these 2 pages because most of the important information from the book is right on here. So remote viewing pertains to the ability of certain individuals to access and determine by means of mental processes information sources blocked. What? Information sources blocked from ordinary perception and generally accepted as secure against such access. That's remote viewing. The phenomenon we have investigated most extensively is the ability of a subject to view remote geographical locations up to several thousand kilometers distance from their physical location, given only a known person on whom to target, giving only a known person. Oh, that's when they use a human being and put him out there, and then you're trying to see what they see. Our accumulated data thus indicate that both specially selected and unselected persons can be assisted in developing remote perceptual abilities up to a level of useful and information transfer, which is interesting. In every paper that I read, everyone can do this. Most people are the most successful if they meet all of the criteria, right? They're open-minded, they hope it can happen, they think it can happen, their first time. And I think that's because I think they try to probably apply themselves to it after that, which might be why in the belt thing, you start at white belt or whatever it was, and then you come back around. Like the goal is to be there again, where you're looking for that, but you have to learn how to stop applying yourself to get back to that free, you know, like when you were a kid and you didn't put up a bunch of blocks. Okay. 3 principal findings. It is possible to obtain significant amounts of accurate, descriptive information about remote locations. B, an increase in the distance from a few meters to up to 4,000 kilometers separating the subject from the scene to be perceived does not in any way, in any apparent way, degrade the quality or accuracy of perception. And the use of a Faraday cage does not prevent high quality descriptions from being attained. That's right. So when they did do the experiments, they tried both. They put them in Faraday cages. They tried to shield. And what I learned today, this is freaking dope. And I don't have video of this, but I can find the video if anyone cares. Today I learned that the frequency of music, like there's a way to get into that meditative state by using like a 4 hertz. I don't know if hertz is the right word, but it's like a 4 something in music. And that'll put you there. And it started making me think about how crazy Jay-Z and Beyonce in particular, but the Illuminati, those ones are obsessed with the number 4. Like super fucking obsessed. I mean, Jay-Z, their kid's name is IV. The I and the V for the letter Roman numeral 4. Megahertz, is that what it is? Thank you. Okay, let me keep going. Current state of research since the 1930s, laboratory of Leningrad Institute for Brain Research. There's been an interest in the use of telepathy as a method of influencing the behavior of persons at a distance. I am Kogan, chairman of the bioinformation section of the Moscow board, or Moscow probably. It's not in Idaho, maybe. Board of the something Popov Society, doing work in behavior modification. And then somebody else spoke about the non-thermal effects of microwaves on animals' central nervous system. Wait, that kind of reminds me of Project Bluebeam. Oh wait, there was this guy, this whistleblower, I think we talked about him. He was on with Patrick Bet David. He said that he was in, no shit, he said that he was in Antarctica working. He was a plumber originally, but he went there to work on HVAC. Really cool server rooms, like cold, -40 to keep them cold. But that they were working on something about like putting thoughts in your brains, but I don't exactly remember how it worked. Creepy. SRI investigations of remote viewing. Ingo Swan. He's like their #1 guy, but isn't he the guy that bent the spoons? Let me look. Let me see. Maybe not. Might be a different dude. Anyway, what else? SRI investigations are moving. Target location selected was kept blind to subject and experiments, which is important. Often observe essentially correct descriptions of basic elements and patterns coupled with incomplete or erroneous analysis of function. Often observe essentially correct descriptions of basic elements and patterns coupled with incomplete or erroneous analysis of function. Oh, okay. Many people are more influenced by their environment and are reluctant under public scrutiny to attempt activities that are generally thought to be impossible. We try to stress the non-uniqueness of the ability because from our experience, paranormal function appears to be a latent ability that all subjects can articulate to some degree. Latent. This is like the next level of human evolution, I think, is using both sides of our brain at the same time. Or a lot more aspects of our brain at the same time. Paranormal, not within the range of normal experience or scientifically explained phenomena. Most essential ability to separate memory and imagination from paranormal inputs. This is the key to bringing the remote viewing channel to fruition with regard to its potential usefulness. Separate memory and imagination from paranormal inputs. This is the part I can't do. I don't understand how you could separate your memory and imagination. What else is there? That's the part that I need to learn. Like there's something else, and it's not me. It's not a memory, and it's not my imagination. It's just a thing that I shouldn't try to explain or something. It's like a dream. I think paranormal is like actively not I don't know, dreaming is right. Seems like it's right. Because remote viewing is a perceptual ability, we consider it important to obtain data on its resolution capabilities. It appears that the principal difference between experienced subjects and inexperienced volunteers is not that the latter never exhibit the faculty, but rather that their results are simply less reliable. The inexperienced, more sporadic. Such observations indicate a hypothesis that remote viewing may be a latent and widely distributed perceptual ability. Motion is seldom reported. Oh, yeah. Isn't that weird? Motion is seldom reported. We're going to read about this here in a minute, but when it's one of those things that tripped me out earlier this afternoon, just thinking about, even when they're nailing it, when they see things that other people, like say you're remote viewing through me, and you see everything that I see, but I can't see what's behind my monitor right here. The remote viewer would be able to see it. So they can see shit as long as it's there, and I have seen it at some point, then you'll be able to see it. But if a train is going by that I can see, that's not usually there, the person remote viewing won't be able to see it, even though it's giant. It's making a lot of noise. But I think it's the motion, something about the motion that makes it the viewer blind to it. J, have learned to urge our subjects simply to describe what they see as opposed to what they think they are looking at. Which is interesting because I think that you learn as you go through the black belts, or the belts. At the beginning, you'll see a swimming pool. But as you get a better belt, you'll eventually realize that not every object, every small body of water isn't a pool. Sometimes it's I don't know what else, other shit that's similar. Okay, so that's that. That's remote viewing. This is released 23 years ago from the CIA. There's no question that all these government programs existed. We did a part 1 where I brought up all of the PDFs for Sunstreak and Center Line, I think it was, and I forgot all of their names. You should go look at that if you're interested in the government programs. Today, we're going to talk about the same guy that we just read about, Harold Putoff and Russell Targ. They wrote this. That is, I think we just read extrapolated from this. This is 28 pages. I didn't highlight all of it. We don't have to listen to all of it. But this is interesting. A perceptual channel for information transfer over distance. That means remote viewing. Information travel over distance. This is so interesting to me. I like some of the things I see in them to become physical and real. I'm working on pulling things out of dreams. JY dreams. I don't know what's happening. It has to be with the section of the brain that controls it. It has to do with the section of the brain that controls it. I know the average person can only use 10% of their brain power at a time. Yeah. And I honestly think that through AR and augmented reality, that is the same thing. VR and AR, that's what's going to help us do that, because you're totally immersing yourself in like a dreamland while being awake. You have to suspend your it's like exercising that muscle that suspends consciousness and lets you, while you're awake. I don't know how else to think about it, but I really do think that somehow, even though we're like, oh, they'll rot your brain, I don't think video games are going to rot our brains. I think they're going to improve our brains. So which would be an interesting thesis if someone out there wants to write that so that we could get video games as a human right. Oh, I'm working on pulling things out of my dreams. So Daniel, you brought up astral projection, and I'm pretty sure that's the same thing as remote viewing. It's just, or lucid dreaming. Probably it's the same thing as lucid dreaming. And it's probably the same thing as remote viewing. You know, honestly, those are probably all you're doing in those states is you're just hypnotized. So who knows? I think those are just fancy names for it, because I was listening to a woman talk about the 5 steps to astral project, and it was like, lay down, but don't lay down somewhere where you usually lay down, because then you'll fall asleep. And then, I don't know, but the things that she said were exactly how it was for me when I lucid dreamt. So I wonder, I don't know, I just kind of wonder, I never felt out of body. It wasn't an out of body experience. I never felt like it just felt like a lucid dreamt. It felt exactly like my lucid dream that I had before that. Anyway, this is a perceptual channel of information transfer over distance. I love this stuff. But hold on. Before we get there, I don't want you guys to be super bored. Did you want to play a game? There's this. So these are the cards that they use. They're called something. Well, I found that picture I wanted to show you earlier. Real quick, let me show you this. This isn't real, but it made me laugh so bad. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. There's no secret base. Okay. By human. Nice try, aliens. I think nice try, aliens. Just the whole thing made me laugh. I found out today it wasn't that real. Anyways, do you guys want to play a game? Do you want to try to guess, just before we do anything, before you learn that this is possible, before anything, do you want to try to see if you can test your powers like pre-learning and then post-learning? Like we can do this at the end of the show in an hour. Maybe you'll be better at it. We could start every show like this just to see if one day we start getting better at this. First one shot, you don't remember your dreams? It's the pot needles. That'll do that to you. Someone told me that it was the pot needles, and so I started really paying attention to if I'm dreaming, and I still am, so I'm not going to quit. They're not as great as they used to be, but I didn't lose them. I tend to log entertaining dreams when I wake up so I can reference them to make other content. Wait, do you really write your dreams down? That's a good habit to be into. Global thermonuclear war? I hope not. Yeah, pot needles, they'll fuck you up. Highly recommend, but like... Do you think that Snoop Dogg quit smoking weed because of his low T, because he couldn't get a boner anymore? I wish I could take a poll. I wish I could get y'all to touch my poll about that poll. So let's play a game. I'm going to pull one of these up right now on screen. You won't see it until I say. I already have it selected. I am looking at it. So if you can see the reflection in my eyes, you're going to be fucking great at this game. I've written down some of my dreams, the ones I want to make into films. Are they that good? Can you make things into films? Because I have great ideas for films all the time. I sometimes wish that they weren't like lost on me, because I should stop thinking about ideas. I get too many boners? That doesn't sound like a thing. Wait, do you have a problem? Okay, you're guessing water. I have it up. I just have to do the click. So get your guesses in. You know what I should do? I should put a little... I'm going to do this real quick. At the very top of my screen, I'm going to add the options, because after this we won't see these again. Square, water, last guesses. I want less tea. Well, smoke, I guess I think weed is supposed to do that for you. I've already written some scenes for Paul for my next film? Really? Oh, that's dope. Okay, let me show you what this was. Bum, 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 bum. I guess you can't see this again. I just have to do it like this. Oh, I'm a genius. Let's do it again. We're only going to do this 3 times. Don't worry, I won't waste all your whole night doing this. Oh, wait, I didn't pick it. I'm just staring at one on the screen. Oh, it's the same one I picked. Am I a genius? On the side, they're not. Never mind. Vicky said so close. She said squared. It was the circle. I mean, I guess it's the most similar one. Maybe not. Maybe the star is. We suck at this. No, no, no. You're just learning. Try this again. You can do it. Ready? Just connect. Yeah, you might not be so good at this. We'll do it one more time. Okay, this is the last time. I hate that there's a lag because I don't exactly know how long the lag is. I'm watching. Well, technically, if I'm there's no. Okay, never mind. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Are you guys ready for the last one? It's my favorite one. This game ain't rigged. Okay, that's what it is. Damn. Okay, so I saw everyone say star, and I was like, I think they got it right. And I forgot to pay attention if anyone... Whatever. Just, you guys are so good at this that you knew before I knew which one I was going to pick next. How do you feel about that? Give yourselves an A+ on this game. I'm going to close all of these so I don't do this again at the end of the show. Sorry about that. That was fun in my mind. Much more fun in my brain. Okay. Perpetual channel for information transfer. I'm just closing everything else down so I don't accidentally drag y'all through that again. Okay. Did you win beautifully? Good job. I didn't guess the plus, but I feel like I would have next. First one shot said, I said star for the first one, so I was eventually right. No, you have to all caps and bold it. Don't you know anything? Yeah, y'all might have sucked at that. And it could be your teacher. I said to look into my eyes. I'll put on my glasses next time so that you can see the reflection better. We're gonna win. Don't worry. We can win. I have a question for you. Do you guys know the movie Serendipity? Do you think that's a Christmas movie? Answer below. Answer in chat. Okay, so let me read this to you. This is where it gets good because we're going to learn how to, not only are we going to learn how to perceptually channel, it's going to, at the very end of this, give us like the transcript of a remote viewing session so that when we go to do it, like, okay, so me and Vicky and Beautifully are going to try this. The protocol calls for 3 people, so I'm going to be the one who picks a destination because I did the research and understand kind of how that works and how to make it doable for them. And then they're going to be trying to remote view. Shoot, I forgot what my point was. You might have the worst teacher in the history of ever for this. Okay, I forgot what I was talking about. That'll be my bad, and we could blame that on the weed. Maybe the coffee, but probably the weed. Divinity was talking about my boners earlier. Ah! Wait. I wasn't. You were. Good evening, Boris Mommy. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so how to remote view at a distance. I wish I could remember what I was just talking about. I feel like it was interesting. I got nothing. Yeah, that's all I remember too, Vicky. Remote viewing with you beautifully. I read it. I don't feel like that's the same thing. Okay, so let's get into this. Abstract. For more than 100 years, scientists have attempted to determine the truth. Oh, I remember now. Oh no. Okay, at the end of this is a transcript. So it'll help Vicky or Beautifully, whoever's going to be the person who's in on it, understand kind of what their role looks like. I'm glad I remembered because that was important. Okay. For more than 100 years, scientists have attempted to determine the truth or falsity of claims. Can y'all see this? It's really small for me. For the existence of a perceptual channel whereby certain individuals are able to perceive and describe remote data not presented to any known sense. This paper presents an outline of the history of scientific inquiry into such so-called paranormal perception and surveys the current state of the art in parapsychological research in the U.S. and abroad. The nature of this perceptual channel is examined in a series of experiments carried out in the Electronics and Bioengineering Lab at Stanford, which is like where all of the fucking propaganda comes from. But, I mean, except this. The perceptual modality most extensively investigated is the ability to both experienced subjects and inexperienced volunteers to view by innate mental process remote geographical or technical targets, including buildings, roads, and laboratory apparatus. The accumulated data indicate that the phenomenon is not a sensitive function of distance, and Faraday cage's shielding does not in any apparent way degrade the quality and accuracy of perception. On the basis of this research, some areas of physics are suggested from which a description or explanation of the phenomenon could be forthcoming. Dun, dun, dun. And actually, because this is back 1967 is when this was written, March 67, they've come a long way in what they understand about everything, physics especially, which is, I think, why they're still messing with this stuff. Because I don't know why, Okay, introduction. It is the province of natural science to investigate nature impartially and without prejudice. Nowhere in scientific inquiry has this dictum met as great a challenge as in the area of so-called extrasensory perception, or ESP, the detection of remote stimuli not mediated by the usual sensory processes. Such phenomena, although under scientific consideration for over a century, have historically been fraught with unreliability and controversy, and validation of the phenomena by accepted scientific methodology has been slow in coming. Even so, a recent survey conducted by the British publication New Scientist revealed that 67% of nearly 1,500 responding readers considered ESP to be an established fact or a likely possibility, and 88% held the investigation of ESP to be a legitimate scientific undertaking. Interesting. I think that's actually good, as far as, like I was saying, if our brains are going to be open to it, like going there, the fact that we're kind of have like a natural assumption that it is a thing is kind of nice. Plus, there are things that are unexplainable. Like, I have a story that's unexplainable. There is some aspect to the world that we don't see, don't experience, can't explain, I don't know what it is, but I'll explain. I'll tell my story maybe when we're done with this, if I remember. Okay, background. Although we are approaching the study of the phenomena as physicists, it is not yet possible to separate ourselves entirely from the language of the 19th century when the laboratory study of the paranormal was begun. Consequently, we continue to use terms such as paranormal, telepathy, and the like. However, we intend only to indicate a process of information transfer under conditions generally accepted as secure against such transfer and with no prejudice or occult assumptions as to the mechanism involved. As in any other scientific pursuit, the purpose is to collect the observables that result from experiments and to try to determine the functional relationships between those observables and the laws of physics as they are currently understood. Here. I don't know if anybody can read this, but I sure shit can't. Organized research into so-called psychic functioning began roughly in the time of J.J. Thomson, Sir Oliver Lodge, and Sir William Crookes, all of whom took part in the founding of the Society for Physical Research? Physical. No. I can't read it. I don't know this word. In 1882. So this is a long ass time ago. In England. Crookes, for example, carried out his principal investigations with D.D. Home, a Scotsman who grew up in America and returned to England in 1855. According to the notebooks and published reports of Crookes, Home had demonstrated the ability to cause objects to move without touching them. Hello? We should note in passing that Home, unlike most subjects, worked only in the light and spoke out in the strongest possible terms against the darkened seance rooms popular at the time. Interesting. Sir William Crookes was a pioneer in the study of electrical discharge in gases and in the development of vacuum tubes, some types of which still bear his name. Although everything Crookes said about electronic beams and plasma was accepted, nothing he said about the achievement of D.D. Holmes ever achieved that status. Many of his colleagues, can you guys see this? Where was I? Many of his colleagues who had not observed the experiments with Home stated publicly that they thought Crookes had been deceived, to which Crookes angrily responded, "Will not my critics give me credit for some amount of common sense? Do they not imagine that the obvious precautions which occur to them as soon as they sit down to pick holes in my experiments have occurred to me also in the course of my prolonged and patient investigations? The answer to this, as to all other objections, is prove it to be an error by showing where the error lies, or if a trick, by showing how the trick is performed. Try the experiment fully and fairly. If then fraud be found, expose it. If it be truth, proclaim it. This is the only scientific procedure, and it is that I propose steadily to pursue." That's an old school mic drop. I kind of love that guy. Hey, King of all Yetis, good to see ya. I believe remote viewing is real. I have meditated and I don't know if I went to nirvana, but I definitely had an out-of-body experience. I just learned... Hey, Creations. Good to see you. I just found out that meditation will get you there, and I just found out that music can kind of... it's like a temporary shortcut if meditation is hard for you to get you to that nirvana state. I think. There's actually a name for it. I actually don't think I have it here because I was listening to it on a podcast today, but there's some kind of sounds. There's a name for the sounds that have that 4 megahertz or whatever. Okay. In the United States, scientific interest in the paranormal was centered in the universities. In 1912, John Coover was established in the endowed chair of physical... No. Why can't I read this word? Okay. Research at Stanford again. In the 1920s, Harvard University set up research programs with George Estabrooks and L.T. Troland. It was in this framework that in 1930, William McDougall invited Dr. J.B. Rhine and Dr. Louisa Rhine to join the psychology department at Duke. For more than 30 years, significant work was carried out at Rhine's Duke University lab. To examine the existence of paranormal perception, he used the now famous ESP cards, which you guys just failed at, containing a boldly printed picture of a square, cross, star, circle, and wavy lines. Subjects were asked to name the order of these cards in a freshly shuffled deck of 25. You guys want to try that? 432 megahertz. No, it's 4. Well, okay, I don't know what I could be. I just had this guy that was telling me the story was... I don't know his last name, but his name's Tom, so kind of trust him. A doctor, where was I? 25 of them, tell me which order they come in. To test for telepathy, an experimenter would look at the cards one at a time, and a subject suitably separated from the sender would attempt to determine which card was being viewed. Dr. Ryan, together with Dr. Pratt, carried out thousands of experiments of this type under widely varying conditions. The statistical results from these experiments indicated that some individuals did indeed possess a paranormal perceptual ability, in that it was possible to obtain an arbitrarily high degree of improbability by continued testing of a gifted subject. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I do need to keep testing you guys. Let's try it again. Which card did I pull out of the deck? I'm staring at it. You know you can do this. Maybe close your eyes and try to do it. I'm going to show you right now. Hopefully you guys already guessed in your minds. Is anyone a genius here? Tell me the truth. Okay, back to this. At the end of the 1940s, this is just kind of a brief history of how we're getting here. At the end of the 40s, Professor SOOOOO, an English mathematician working with the program, had carried out hundreds of card guessing experiments involving tens of thousands of calls. Many of these experiments were carried out over extended distances. One of the most notable experiments was conducted with Miss Gloria Stewart between London and Antwerp. This experiment gave results whose probability of occurring by chance were less than 1 to the 8th power. With the publication of modern experiments in telepathy by SOOOOO and Bateman, both of whom were statisticians, it appeared that card guessing experiments produced significant results on the average. Oh wait, I didn't highlight none of that. I'm getting carried away. Even among the supporters of ESP research and its results, there remained the constant problem that many successful subjects eventually lost their ability and their scores gradually drifted towards chance results. This decline effect in no way erased their previous astronomical success, but it was a disappointment since if paranormal perception is a natural ability, one would like to see subjects improving with the practice rather than getting worse, right? One of the first successful attempts to overcome the decline effect was in Czechoslovakia in the work of Dr. Milan Reisel, a chemist with the Institute of Biology of the Czechoslovakian Academy of Science and also an amateur hypnotist. Again, very important, I think. The two, Edgar Casey, they called him the Sleeping Prophet, and what was her name? Dolores Cannon. Both of them used a hypnotic state to connect to, like, I don't know, the astral world or to their subconscious or to consciousness itself or some shit. I don't know. Through the use of hypnosis together with feedback and reinforcement, he developed several outstanding subjects, one of whom, Pavel Stepanek, has worked with experimenters around the world for more than 10 years. His work came as an answer to the question raised by the 1956 CIBA Foundation Conference of Extrasensory Perception. A prototype experiment by Reisel using such techniques. Okay, maybe I should read that. I'm going to read it because I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Reisel had by 62 accomplished that goal. His primary contribution was a decision to interact with the subject as a person to try to build up his confidence and ability. His protocol depended on working with rather than running his subjects. Reisel's star subject, Pavel, had produced highly significant results with many contemporary researchers. In these experiments, he was able to tell with 60% reliability whether a hidden card was green side or white side up, yielding statistics of 1,000,000 to 1 with only 1,000 trials. Okay, so he's trying to fix the problem of them getting worse at this as time goes by. And he thinks it's because he starts working with them rather than just being their teacher. So having some kind of relationship is probably going to help. A prototype experiment by Reisel using such techniques had proved to be successful. he had an assistant select randomly 5 groups of 3 digits each. These 15 digits were then encoded into binary form and translated into a sequence of green and white cards in sealed envelopes. By means of repeated calling and an elaborate majority vote protocol, Reisel was able, after 19,350 calls by Powell, averaging 9 seconds per call, to correctly identify all 15 numbers, a result significant of probability of 10 to the 15th power. This hit rate for individual calls was 61.9%. 11,978 hits and 7,300 misses. Like 7,000 misses is a lot, though. This says, note added, it has been brought to our attention. So they just told us this story about how he guessed all 15 numbers right. This one says, it has been brought to our attention that a similar procedure was recently used to transmit without error the word peace in International Morse code. Towards the effective, this is where they did it, presented at the annual meeting of the American Association for Advancement of Science in 1975. The characteristics of such a channel can be specified in accordance. That's freaking cool. They said peace. They remoted in peace. Okay. Dr. Charles Tart at the University of California has written extensively on the so-called decline effect. He considers that having subjects attempt to guess cards or perform any other repetitious task, like half that word's missing, repetitious task for which they receive no feedback, follows the classical technique for deconditioning any response. He thus considers card guessing a technique for extinguishing psychic functions in the laboratory. Damn. So the fact that you guys just got that wrong, I just might have killed your ESP. Sorry about that. That's my bad. I should put a warning at the beginning of this video. Don't attempt. Fast forward to 53 minutes, because the first 52 are going to fuck up your life. Okay, sorry about that. SRI investigations of remote viewing. Experimentations in remote viewing began during studies carried out to investigate the abilities of a New York artist, Ingo Swann, when he expressed the opinion that the insights gained during experiments at SRI had strengthened his ability, verified in other research before he joined the program, to remote view. To test Mr. Swann's assertion, a pilot study was set up in which a series of targets from around the globe were supplied by SRI personnel to the experimenters on a double-blind basis. Mr. Swann's apparent ability to describe correctly details of buildings, roads, bridges, and the like indicated that it may be possible for a subject, by means of mental imagery, to access and describe randomly chosen geographical sites located several miles from the subject's position and demarcate by some appropriate means. Therefore, we set up a research program to test the remote viewing hypothesis under rigidly controlled scientific conditions. That's pretty good. Imagine if this guy would have been trash, none of this happens, right? If Mr. Swann didn't know how to do this, we never know. In each experiment, SRI management randomly chose a target location from a list of targets within a 30-minute driving time. From SRI, the target location selected was kept blind to the subject and experimenters. The target pool consisted of more than 100 target locations chosen from a target-rich environment. The target matters, but we're not going to go into it tonight about why it matters. But the newer you are at it, the kind of broader the target has to be, because that's how you're going to see things. You're not going to if I'm thinking of a little river, the person might see the Grand Canyon or vice versa, just because big and small, all the minutia doesn't really come through, I don't think, until you really get good at trusting yourself, I think is the thing. I do like the Nightwave StreamYard song playing softly in the background, Deb. It is set at 4 megahertz. You guys should be really good at this before it's over. I'd be his swan song, the bum. You're cute. Okay, so in detail, okay, they're just talking about how this guy's good at it. I'm getting bored with this. Swimming pool complex as remote viewing target is figure 3. City map of target location, drawing by price. Price? I didn't even know price was here. Okay, let's get to it. This is interesting. This is one where they sent a guy out and he's looking at this, and actually, okay, this might be the one that we're going to see later. When they read the transcript, it might be to these pictures. And so they send the guy out and he's taking these pictures, but the remote viewer is viewing while the guy is there. He just takes these pictures to show us later. This is what he's drawing. I think this is going to be the same thing. If it is, it's interesting because it's a pedestrian bridge over a freeway. And look, with all these little chain link things, like, it could have been anything. He could have said like beehives. Probably like a white belt would have said beehives, but he's like a red black belt or whatever the last one is. So he's like chain link fence. I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. I don't think he said that. Let's go see what he said. This is really cool. They're playing tennis. This guy has a damn tennis racket. But maybe see the question mark here? Maybe because it's movement. We'll get into this. Normal and paranormal use of unselected subjects in remote viewing. After more than a year of following the experimental protocol described above and observing that even inexperienced subjects generated results better than expected, we initiated a series of experiments to explore further whether individuals other than putative psychics can demonstrate the remote viewing ability. To test this idea, we have a continuing program to carry out additional experiments on the outdoor type with new subjects whom we have no a priori reason to believe have paranormal perceptual ability. To date, we have collected data from 5 experiments with 2 individuals in the category, a man and a woman who were visiting government scientists interested in observing our experimental protocols. Okay. Why didn't I highlight anything else? Observations with unselected subjects, such as those described above, indicate that remote viewing may be a latent talent and widely distributed perceptual ability. That's all I wanted y'all to know. It appears that the principal difference between experienced subjects and inexperienced volunteers is not that the inexperienced, the latter, never exhibit the faculty, but rather that their results are simply less reliable and more sporadic. Nevertheless, as described earlier, individual transcripts from an inexperienced group of subjects number among some of the best obtained. Such observations indicate a hypothesis that remote viewing may be a latent and widely distributed perceptual ability. Look, this guy saw alien, and are these balls or boobs? These are boobs, for sure. Nature of the description. This is talking about how the viewer might say the words that the spotter has to, like, write down or work with. The concrete descriptions that appear most commonly in transcripts are at the level of subunits of the overall scene. For example, when the target was a Xerox copy machine, the responses included a rolling object, the moving light, or dials and a cover that is lifted, but the machine as a whole was not identified by name or function. So it's like just like you would say they got it right, but they never called it a Xerox machine. In a few transcripts, the subjects correctly identified and named the target. In the case of computer terminal, the subject apparently perceived the terminal and the relay racks behind it. In the case of targets that were Hoover Tower and White Plaza, the subjects seemed to identify the locations through analysis of their initial images of the elements of the target. There were also occasional incorrect identifications. Gasalts were incorrectly named. For example, swimming pools in a park were identified as water storage tanks at a water filtration plant. See, that's what I meant to say earlier. Sometimes you might not be familiar with the water filtration plant, so your brain can't really give you that, but it can give you a swimming pool every time because it's easier. Big body of water. And so I think that's why they want you to suspend your imagination and your other something else, your memories and your imagination. You have to suspend those so that when you see the body of water, you don't automatically make it a pool. You let it be whatever it is. You just be like, okay, it's a weird pool because it's in a storage tank or whatever. Water filtration tank. The most common perceptual level was thus an intermediate one. The individual element and item that make... Wait. The most common perceptual level was thus an intermediate one. The individual elements and items that make up the target. This is suggestive of a scanning process that takes sample perceptions from within the overall environment. When the subject tries to make sense out of these fragmentary impressions, they often resort to metaphors or constructed an image with the kind of perceptual inference. From a feeling of the target as an august and solemn building. I don't know what that means. A subject said it might be a library. It was a church. Oh. A pedestrian overpass above a freeway was described as a conduit. A rapid transit station elevated above the countryside was associated with an observatory. These responses seem to be the result of attempts to process partial information. Similarly, this occurs in other parapsychological experiments. These observations are compatible with the hypothesis that information received in a putative remote viewing mode is processed piecemeal in pattern form, consistent with a low bitrate process but not necessarily requiring it, and the errors arise in the processing of attempted integration of the data into larger patterns directed toward verbal labeling. What? Similarly, this occurs in other parapsychological experiments. Observations are compatible with the hypothesis that information received in a putative remote viewing mode is processed piecemeal in pattern form, and the errors arise in the processes of attempted integration of the data into larger patterns directed toward verbal labeling. Oh, when you try to put a word to it, that's why you have to know what they are, because you can only use words you know. That makes sense. The descriptions given by the subject sometimes went beyond what the remote experimenter experienced, at least consciously. For example, one subject described and drew a belt drive at the top of a drill press that was invisible even to the remote experimenter who was operating the machine. Another subject described a number of items behind shrubbery and thus not visible to members of the demarcation team at the site. Curiously, objects in motion at the remote site were rarely mentioned in the transcript. For example, trains crossing the railroad trestle target was not described, though the remote experimenter stood very close to them. Interesting. Also, in a few cases, the subject's descriptions were inaccurate regarding size of structures. A 20-foot courtyard separating two buildings was described as 200 feet wide, and a small shed was expanded to a barn-like structure. I wonder what that means. I wonder why. A comparison of the results of remote viewing with results of forced choice tasks, such as the selection of one of four choices generated by a random number generator, reveals the following findings. From a statistical viewpoint, a subject is more likely to describe with sufficient accuracy to permit blind matching a remote site chosen at random than he is to select correctly one of four random numbers. That's pretty pretty dope. Our experience with these phenomena lead us to consider this difference in task performance may stem from fundamental signal-to-noise consideration. Two principal sources of noise in the system apparently are memory and imagination, both of which can give rise to mental pictures of greater clarity than the target to be perceived. Okay, so noise. So I guess memories, anything... This is what I don't understand, and this must be why you have to like meditate to do it, because your thoughts, your memories, your imagination is noise. Like those are just ones and zeros flying around in your head, and you're trying to see. Oh, it's like one of those pictures where it's everything and you just you see it, but you can't see it. You can't look at it, but you still have to focus on it. Oh shit, that opens my brain a little bit. That's so interesting. I gotta go get my dream on. Just kidding. But seriously, that breaks my brain a little bit to think about. I understand I know what that is. So it's like one side of my brain gets it and the side that has to fucking do it doesn't get it. It's like, we don't get it. We don't want to do it like that. We never did it like that. Come on, brain, do what I say. Finally, we observe that most of the correct information the subjects relate to us is of a non-analytic nature, pertaining to shape, form, color, and material rather than to function or name. In consultation with Dr. Robert Ornstein of the Langley Porter Neuropsych in San Francisco, and with Dr. Ralph and somewhere in Stanford, we have formed the tentative hypothesis that paranormal functioning may involve specialization characteristic of the brain's right hemisphere. This possibility is derived from a variety of evidence from clinical and neurosurgical sources, which indicate that the two hemispheres of a human brain are specialized for different cognitive functions. The left hemisphere is predominantly active in verbal and other analytical functions, and the right hemisphere predominates in spatial and other holistic processes. That's what I'm saying. I can't get the other side of my brain to do what I want. Okay, I'm gonna work on it though. I'm telling you, when I was trying to lucid dream, I was able to do it. And let me see, are we done with this? We might be done with this. Oh, so close. Oh, this is the remote viewing transcript. Sweet, this is it. Okay, so if you're gonna remote view, you need a person like me that will pick your location, and you need a person to remote view and a person that's going to basically walk them through it. If you're familiar with Edgar Cayce, he had like his wife do it or his secretary do it or some shit because he thought that somebody was like using him during when he like to get other information out of him that he wasn't looking for, because he didn't know what he was saying. He was like being asked or whatever. So this is going to help you kind of understand the relationship between the remote viewer and his spotter, his person. I bet Nova would be good at this. That's my issue with this. I am an analytical person. It feels like this is a negative with grasping this concept. Yeah, I don't really understand it either. It's something. Have you looked at those pictures where it's like just a bunch of squares and colors and you can't tell what it is, and eventually it's the Statue of Liberty or some shit, like really detailed, and for some reason you can see it and it's 3D, and like seconds ago it was nothing, but then if you let that go, it's gone again, that you can kind of make yourself do it. It's like that. It's like making your brain do that. Like you with the analytics, you stand by while I do this other cool shit, because I'm gonna kind of need the brain and the words and all of that, but none of the logic and reason. Just fuck off with all that. Yeah, my brain doesn't like to do that. Okay, this is the transcript. The following is the unedited transcript of the first experiment with an SRI volunteer, a mathematician in the computer science laboratory with no previous experiment in remote viewing. The target determined by random procedure was White's Plaza, a plaza with a fountain at Stanford University. As is our standard protocol, the experimenter with the subject is kept ignorant of the specific target visited as well as the contents of the target pool. This experiment statement and questions are in italics. What? The experimenter statements and questions are in italics. Okay. Today's Monday, October 7. It is 11 a.m. and this is a remote viewing experiment with Russ Targ, Phyllis Cole, and Hal Putoff. In this experiment, Hal will drive to a remote site chosen by a random process. Phyllis Cole will be the remote viewer, and Russ will be the monitor. Monitor, that's what they call it, not spotter. We expect this experiment to start at 20 minutes after 11 and run for 15 minutes. It is just about 20 minutes after 11 and Hal should be at his target location by now. Why don't you tell me what kind of pictures you see and what you think he might be doing or experiencing? The viewer said, the first thing that came to mind was some sort of large square kind of shape, like Hal was in front of it. It was not a building or something. It was a square. I don't know if it was a window, but something like that, so that the bottom line of it was not at the ground, about where his waist was at least. That's what it seemed to me. It seemed outdoors somewhere, a tree. So basically, right off the bat, she describes a statue, because the base of it is right here. Anyway, Hal. Does Hal seem to be looking at the square? I don't know. The first impression was that he wasn't, but I have a sense that whatever it was something one might look at. I don't know if it would be a sign, but something that one might look at. I think it's important when you start the remote viewing to ask them that first question of what's your initial feeling? Because that's probably the best. Because from that point on, she's going to start applying herself to it. Even if she's really good at this, I don't think you can help it. Can you tell if it's on the ground or vertical? Seems vertical. And you can hear how they're answering the questions. The other guy is like invested. He'd be like this. Oh, what does he see now? What next? Is it tall? Is it short? Is it big? Like they're really just it's almost like that person wishes they could see. So they're just trying to get it all out of you. They don't know where the other person is at. They call it front loading, but they're not going to lead the witness or the viewer in any way. So that's what I think the important part of the spotter. What was he called again? The friend. I think that's an important part for him. What was the next question? Can you move into where he is standing and try to see what he is looking at? I picked up he was touching something rough, maybe warm and rough, something possibly like cement. It was 24 minutes after 11. Can you change your point of view and move above the sense so you can get a bigger picture of what's there? I still see some trees and some sort of pavement or something like that. Might be a courtyard. The thing that comes to mind was it might be one of the plaza at Stanford campus or something like that. Cement. She's fucking nailing it. She just doesn't know it yet. Some kind of landscape. I said Stanford campus when I started to see things in White Plaza, but I think that is misleading. Wait. This is her talking. It says some kind of landscape. This is still her talking. I said Stanford campus when I started to see some things in White Plaza, but I think that is misleading. I have the sense that he's not moving around too much, that it is a small area. I guess I'll go ahead and say it, but I'm afraid I'm just putting on my impressions from Stanford campus. I had the impression of a fountain. There are two in the plaza, and it seems that Hal was possibly near one. They call them memclaw. So basically, in the middle of this, she's like, my memories are getting in, or my imagination is getting in, and what does she say? I'll go ahead and say it. I'm afraid I'm just putting in my own impressions from Stanford campus. They're at Stanford campus. I think it says that, right? Doesn't it say? The target determined the random procedure was White Plaza, a plaza with a fountain at Stanford University. So cement. It's super, super cool when this shit happens, I think. Are there any buildings? Wait. What is that? It's a fountain. It looks rather like a claw. It's a black sculpture and it has benches. Are there any buildings at the place you are looking at? Are there any buildings? You described a kind of courtyard. Usually at some places there should be a building, large or small, that the courtyard is about. Look at the end of the size of the courtyard. Is there anything to be seen? Is this fascinating to you guys? I think it's fascinating to know how they're talking to each other right now. Like the state of mind that the one person has to be in to be helpful or useful in this. And she says, I have a sense that there are buildings. It's not solid buildings. I mean, there are some around the periphery, and I have a sense that none of them are very tall. Maybe mostly one story. Maybe on occasion, two-story one. Do you have any better idea of what your square was that you saw at the outset? No, I could hazard different kinds of guesses. Does it seem part of the scene? How long is this? Okay, I get over stuff so easy. I think it could be. It could almost be a bulletin board or something with notices on it, or something that people are expected to look at. Maybe a window with things in it that people were expected to look at. What kind of trees do you see in this place? I don't know what kind they are. The impression was that they were shade trees, not terribly big, maybe 12 feet of trunk and then a certain amount of branches above that, so that the branches may have a 12-foot diameter or something. Not real big trees. New trees rather than old trees? Yeah, maybe 5 or 10 years old, but not real old trees. Is there something interesting about the Is there anything interesting about the pavement? No, it seems to be not terribly new or terribly old, not very interesting. There seems to be some bits of landscaping around, little patches of grass around the edges of the peripheries, maybe some flowers, but not lush. You saw some benches. Do you want to tell me about them? Well, that's my unsure feeling about this fountain. There were some kind of benches of cement, curved benches, it felt like. They were of rough cement. What do you think Hal is doing while he is there? I have a sense he's looking at things, trying to project them, looking at different things and sort of walking back and forth, not covering a whole lot of territory. Sometimes standing still while he looks around. I just had the impression of him talking, and I almost sensed that it was just being recorded or something. I don't know if he has a tape recorder, but if it's not that, then he is saying something because it needs to be remembered. It's 11:33. He's probably just getting ready to come back. Isn't that cool? I love this. Oh, good evening, Ms. Sister said. Okay, that was a remote viewing session. 15 minutes. That's all. One person seeing shit and the other person talking to them, trying to get the information out of them. Pretty fucking dope. Okay, there's another thing here though. I think I would make a good card flipper. I think I would make a good monitor. I think I would make a good. I would for the time being. I'm gonna pick places, but I think I'd be a pretty decent monitor. I'd want to try all of the things. I think you should try all of the things. So am I sharing this? I am. So this is called geomagnetic fluctuations in free response anomalous cognition, a new understanding. Listen, this is amazing. Efforts to establish whether a correlation between anomalous cognition, performance, and geomagnetic fluctuations have met with mixed results. A negative correlation being seen in some studies and not in other comparable ones. Confirming this observation, it's a large database of almost 2,900 free response trials to the Spearman's correlation between the Sumpton index and the anomalous cognition effect size. Was numbers that don't mean anything to me. However, a large increase in the magnitude of the correlation was found at approximately 13 hours local sidereal time. The longitudinal-like astronomical coordinate for the portion of the celestial sphere that is directly overhead at the time of the viewing. Now, these are all new words to me. Sidereal time? Let's find out. Local sidereal time. But this study, I learned this study I looked at like last week. I just can't remember what any of this means. Sidereal time. Let me share this. Is a system of timekeeping usually used especially by astronomers using sidereal time and the celestial coordinate system. It is easy to locate the position of celestial objects in the night sky. It is a timescale that is based on Earth's rate of rotation measured related to the fixed stars. Viewed from the same location, a star seen at one position in the sky will be seen at the same position on another night at the same time of day if the day is defined as a sidereal day. Okay, so like the sun's going to come up at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow it's going to come up at 12:04 or whatever it is, whatever the offset is. A sidereal day is going to start at 12:04, and every day it's going to be, so like 1,300 hours is from the time the sun comes up every day, I think. I don't fucking know how it works. Did I just read that? View, yeah. This is similar to how time is kept by a sundial. This is similar to how the time kept by a sundial can be used to find the location of the sun. Just as the sun and moon appears to rise in the east and set in the west due to the rotation of the earth, so do the stars. Both solar time and sidereal time make use of the regularity of Earth's rotation about its polar axis. Solar time is reckoned according to the position of the sun in the sky. Oh, so I made a bad example by using the sun. I feel like you know what I meant. Well, sidereal time is based approximately on the position of fixed stars on the theoretical celestial sphere. But what? What are the fixed stars? Like, all of them? Like the constellations? And then the planets move? Wait, what? I don't know how this works. Either way, let me get back to the study. Either way, they're going to find that when they do these studies of when anomalous cognition happens, which is ESP, that for some reason it says at the 13-hour local sidereal time. You're going to have to figure out when that is for you. The longitudinal like astronomical coordinate for the portion of the celestial sphere that is directly overhead at the time of viewing at 1300 hours is the best time for ESP. It says the sharp increase of correlation may be connected with an earlier result that the effect size increases. Oh, this is confusing. The abstract, why does that have to be so confusing? Boring. Word of introduction. For some years, there's been speculation that anomalous cognition performance may be correlated with global geomagnetic field fluctuations. This idea arose from the work of Persinger in 1988, who found that anecdotal cases of putative AC, anomalous cognition, occurred on days with global magnetic field fluctuations were significantly lower than on the preceding and following days. Many workers have investigated whether this interesting observation could be extended to laboratory anomalous cognition, but with mixed results. Tart, 88, and Persinger and Krippner in 89 found an association between high-scoring AC trials and low global geomagnetic field fluctuations, while Haraldson and somebody else in 87 and Nelson and Dune in 86 did not. In an unpublished meta-analysis, this author collected 1,468 free response trials from 21 studies, reasoning that the effect, if it existed, would be most easily detected in a large database with high effect size. In fact, the overall correlation was a disappointing negative 0.0002. Recently, it has been shown that there is a relationship between free response effect size and the local sidereal time at which a trial occurs. In a database of 2,483 free response trials with an mean effect size of 0.122 overall, those trials that occurred within 1 hour of 13.5 hours local sidereal time showed a 380% increase in effect size. In light of this, it was considered worthwhile revisiting the correlation between anomalous cognition performance and geomagnetic fluctuations, but including LST as a filtering variable. Do you see what's happening here? So for some reason, within an hour, get plus or minus 13.5 local sidereal time. Figure that one out for yourself. I'm not sure. What's AC stand for again? Anomalous cognition. Your ESP is going to spike by 380%. And I think this is low. Let me see. I think the next one is bigger. The data consisted of 51 free datasets method. The data consisted of 51 free response studies comprising 28. 179 trials with a mean effect size of 0.140 and resulting Stouffer's Z of 7.5. These numbers, I'm so sorry, they don't make sense to me. These records were elicited in response to a request for formal experiments, excluding exploratory trials, which were of free response design, and for which trial time, date, location, and scores were available. They're just trying to get more to look at. The data falls into two broad groups of protocols. The first includes most of the Gansfield work done since the 80s, comprising and completing data from the psychophysical research labs and partial data from the Institute of Parapsychology. A lot of places. Each trial's time was corrected for daylight savings time where appropriate and converted to universal time. Geographical study coordinates for the trials were obtained from the gazetteer of the Rand McNally Institute. Okay, that's interesting. I have to figure out when these experiments were done. Results. This is what I was looking for. The distribution of correlation in local sidereal time space was examined by calculating the correlation between effect size and AP in 2-hour wide windows of local sidereal time. That's this. I feel like you could see the things happening in the data. This calculation was repeated for windows spaced 0.1 hours apart for all values of local sidereal time from 0 hours to 24 hours to ensure that windows with their centers in the 0 to 1 hour and 23 to 24 hour regions had a complete set of trials. The local sidereal time data was padded with 2 copies of itself, with the sidereal times advanced and retarded by 24 hours. I didn't know y'all was in this study, but there you is. Right there. Figure 1 shows the resulting correlation data plotted against the window center time. The overall correlation of the data is shown dashed. The error bars show the estimated standard deviation of the correlation coefficients. Calculated as, obviously. Okay, so here you are. This is 1300 local sidereal time. Can you see the difference? That's amazing. So if you could figure out what I wonder if there's like an online calculator for this. Let's look. Sidereal time calculator. Is it an app? Let's see. No shit. I think we can do it. Okay, hello. Is that right? Is it almost 8 o'clock? How the fuck do I get all this other information? Let me try a different one. I'm gonna click that first one, actually. That's me. Okay, so it is 45 minutes right now. So like in 13 hours, you guys, in 13 hours. So that means it's basically midnight. So 8 p.m. Dude, 8 p.m. That's the same. Okay, it's 8 p.m. is midnight. So 1 p.m. tomorrow. I was gonna take a nap then anyways. Perfect. What's tomorrow? Friday? Friday at 1:30. I'm gonna fucking travel to y'all's living rooms. Tell me something about your living rooms right now. Good night first. I'm kind of retarded, Alex Jones. Yeah, if you know how to explain this, I can send you a link. Because I'm pretty much done. This was the most interesting thing I thought in the whole entire world, if we could figure out when the sidereal time was, because we might not know a lot of shit, but if there is a time that the universe wants us to do this, that's the best time for it to happen. For me, it's in 13 hours, so I gotta get to sleep. Is there anything else I wanted to show you guys tonight? The apparent association between effect size and anomalous conjugation. Yeah. This. The first step towards generating focused hypothesis would be discovery of a physical parameter which clearly modulated AC performance. Yeah, exactly. That's where you come up with this. Are there any more pictures? I can't read that. Method, results, again, with the effect size at 13.5 peaking. Wait, I didn't know. Does this mean it's bad? I don't think this means it's bad. These are probably normal. Send it. Yay. Okay, let's do it. Uno momente, por favor. Come to my hangout. All right, I can close all these Sage Real ones down because we have a real expert coming in. You guys, I did this for you. I brought in an expert. I paid a lot for him. In the meantime, guess which card I have up? It's one of these. Which one is it? Bum, bum, bum. All right, that's remote viewing. And I heard this lady today, she was talking about to get into the frame of mind. Oh, that's Paul. Let's do this. Okay, hold on. You are in the StreamYard, but I can't. There you are.
Okay.
What's up?
So
hold on. Guess which one of these I'm gonna pull up real quick.
Water.
Fucking yes.
Yes, I know, because we have a personal connection now, and I can see the reflection in your eyeballs. So
yeah, boy.
It's not ESPA. It's just getting it done. So sidereal time is actually very fascinating. So we live in solar time, but just like anything in space time, everything is relative. So how do we determine what time we live in? It's all about where the perception of how we're looking at it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. When we view time, the passage of a day, how do you view what determines the passage of 24 hours?
Personally, if I have slept. I mean, the sun goes up and down.
So you're talking about like your circadian rhythm. Correct. The sun goes up and down, which is based on what?
Their circadian rhythm. Or no, based on, that's the universe?
The Earth rotating around the sun, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's a solar day. Sidereal time, so if Divinity, if you woke up tomorrow and you said, all right, I'm going to stand in one spot for the next 24 hours and point where the sun is right now, and you just stayed there with your finger not moving, the sun passes and moves throughout its day, 24 hours later, the sun's going to be right where your finger pointed again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sidereal, that's because we take the perception of time as the sun is the center. So us rotating around the sun, when we man, I could actually like draw this in Microsoft Paint.
You should. You should pull up Paint and I'll share it.
Yeah, I will. I'll do it. Because this is very fascinating stuff. All right, share screen. Settings. Sorry to infiltrate your stream. This has been really great, by the way. I've really enjoyed this.
No, I love this. I need to understand. And I'm with you. I don't know that I could actually, there we go, do this. I don't know that I could be hypnotized. Have you ever been hypnotized?
So when I was in college, we had a hypnotist come to our college, world famous hypnotist. He pulled me up on stage with like 20 other people. We sat down and he was going through and talking to everybody. And I swear to God, I'm not saying this to like have big balls or brag off on your show, but he's going through and he's talking to everybody one by one. He called me up first, but he sat me like number 6 in the order, which was really weird. And then people were coming up. He was just randomly putting them in. And as he's walking through and talking to everybody, he comes up to me and he literally puts his hand on me and he stops. And he whispers in my ear, "You're mentally too strong for this. Please leave the stage." And I went, okay. And then I watched all my friends act like chickens and do weird, stupid shit.
Yeah, you're like, it's not fair. I would have done it.
All right. I hope this comes through on screens.
I can see the
Okay.
yellow.
Yeah. Bet you can guess what this is going
That's
to
the
be.
sun.
Damn, you're good, girl.
I'm fucking
Not only
good
beautiful,
at
you're
this.
intelligent as well. All
It's
right.
a circle, y'all.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you.
So, here we go. We measure a year by the Earth's orbit around the sun. All time is measured by the Earth's orbit around the sun. Oh, fuck, I can't do that in this. Delete it. All right. So, like I said, if you stood up and pointed your finger at the sun and just stood there for 24 hours later, the sun's going to be on your fingertip again, where you pointed. That's
Are
a
you
solar day. That's called the solar
sun
day.
Moved.
You are correct. The sun does move, but it's not going to be so
Like-
lapsing day to day where it's going to be noticeable.
Okay.
I'm saying generically noticeable. And it's not 24 hours exactly. It's like 24 hours, 59 minutes. However, side real time is effective to the minute. Side real time is 23 hours and 56 minutes. Because the way we currently view a solar year and how we keep track of time is basing that on, here, I'll just put a black dot, as if the center of the sun was everything, rotation and everything. So that's where, when we're viewing it, we view time like this, what we're seeing on a paint screen, a two-dimensional image of a one ball revolving around another ball while rotating, while going around it. So that rotation is the day, and then one lapse all the way around is a year. Okay? And it's 365 days. It's actually 366.23. A leap year. But the reason I can get into the weird geometry of why it's 366.23, because when a circle is going around another circle, do I have coins? Hold on. Let me find 2 quarters. This will be really easy to explain. All right, we got pennies, so I hope this shows up. If you put two circles next to each other that are identical, and you were to spin them and rotate them and count how many times his head would go around it, what do you think it would be? If we rotated one around the other, how many times do you think Abraham Lincoln's head would be pointing straight up? We start them side by side, heads are straight in the air. If I was to rotate it all the way around the penny and then come, how many times would Abraham Lincoln's head go straight up?
I would say twice.
Okay, why would you say that?
Is it once? I just feel like it's more than once, but not more than twice. It seems like it would roll around maybe more than once.
It's a trick question.
Oh, okay.
If we're asking it the way I said it, where you roll it around the circle, you'd be right. It's twice. But if we actually measured the distance around this penny and laid that distance out flat on the ground and measured it off and then rolled the penny flat on the ground, it would only be once. The reason is because it's called the circular paradox in geometry. Whenever any circular object is rotating around another object, it doesn't have to be a circle. It can be any object. Whatever the length of the object that's rotating will be the number plus 1 for the circle. But when you do it linear on a flat surface, it's only the number of the distance. Does that make sense? So 1 pennies that are completely equal in circumference, it would only be 1 time. But when you do it around a circle, it's twice, because it's called the circular paradox. Anytime an object has to travel around a circle. So that's why we say 365, when in actuality, it's 366.23. And we have a leap year every year to make up for it.
To fix it, right?
Yes. Now, we have only discussed solar time. We have not touched on the third one, which is the second one, which is side real time, which you've been talking about. So this is why it's important. Side real time takes us out of the sun being the center of our universe and our time frame. And it says everything in the sky, it can be observable as a center point for time. So every star, every asteroid, whatever it is. So in the scenario where I told you, if you go and point your finger at the sun, if you do the same thing with the star, it's going to be drastically different every 24 hours. But every 23 hours and 56 minutes, it's going to be the exact same. So if you went out tonight and picked one star in the sky, sat there and pointed at it, and used
Mhm.
that as your center of place, 23 hours and 56 minutes later, that star is
That
going to be in
one
the same
spot.
spot.
Oh, okay.
So celestial time is more accurate than solar time based off our sun. That's what sidereal time is. So if we went by sidereal time, every 6 months, we'd be a day off. Because that 4 minutes would keep stacking and stacking and stacking every day. Does that make
And
sense?
so it does make sense. So when we do leap years, we're correcting the solar year and resetting sidereal, or just the solar counting?
Just the solar counting.
Okay, so I thought it
Sidereal
was
keeps
both.
sidereal keeps going on its own. But if you want to look at it as like a day of the week, yes, it would reset what local sidereal is, what you're talking about here in this paper.
And so it's basically saying if you so my 1300 sidereal time will be the same. It will be 1 p.m. for me every day, but 1 p.m. is going to change for me? No?
Correct. Don't think of it as like we do in our human time where it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Think of it as
That star is going to come around if I didn't move, but our time will change because it's going on a solar
correct, because we're going on solar time. But in the way we measure time, the units of seconds, minutes, hours, it's 23 hours, 56 minutes exactly. Every single day. That does not change. So what I'm saying is, if we went by sidereal time, January 1st, midnight is sidereal time. And if you stuck to just sidereal time in your life, by the time you hit August, it would be 8 in the morning local, but it would still be midnight sidereal time. So the sun would be up.
Because of those 4 seconds?
4 minutes.
Oh, it's 4 minutes? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Okay. Hours, okay.
Because it stacks every single day.
Then what the hell? Okay, so then why does our ESP spike at 1300 sidereal time?
Sidereal, but it's local.
It's local for your personal, right?
For your person. So that's where you split it up into time zones to try to make it normal. My guess would be, and this is just a guess, depending on it, without ever researching or looking into this. My guess would be because whatever measurements they're using to calculate that, it has something either to do with solar flares during daytime or shadowing of the Earth at night from solar flares. That would be my guess. Because did you notice how on your, do you have the graph? Pull the graph back up.
Yeah.
Because that's where I wanted to read the graph. Because did you notice that the same 24-hour cycle, the spike is the same at every point?
Let me see if this was the graph. This was the second one. Let me see if there's another one at the top.
Now, is that saying it'll always be 1300 sidereal time local? Is that what it's saying?
Here's the thing. So yes, this is sidereal time local here at the bottom and effect size. So
my guess would be solar flares off-putting from the sun, or something to do with the Van Allen radiation belts from shading and having full sunlight. Without digging into this any further than just what you showed on your stream, I do not know for a fact. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you're right, because the first time they did, in the first one, it said something about the geomagnetic fluctuations. And so I bet you they're the lowest at 1300 sidereal for some reason. Local sidereal for everyone. They're the magnetics, whatever the fuck.
And you know what? That could involve the moon too. Because the moon has geomagnetic indications on our planet. Hence the reason we have high and low tides.
This is why the Earth is flat. The government's trying to make it so that we can't do ESP. If we knew about the magnetic field, we'd be tapping into it.
The moon operates in sidereal time.
Is the moon a fixed star? It's gotta be then.
It orbits Earth, but it's not in the same orbital pattern as the sun. So it operates as a third party interpretation. That's the thing about sidereal time. You can use any object in the sky except for the sun because we are orbiting the sun.
Oh, so
So the
that's because
sun
it
has
gives
a
it that
direct
plus
impact. Yeah,
one.
the sun has a direct impact on us. But any third party, because the moon's orbiting around us, we bring into another equation where actually the moon operates inside real time, not solar time.
Hmm.
Even though the moon is technically orbiting the sun, its main source of gravitational pull is the Earth,
Is
not the sun.
us, yeah.
So it can be calculated inside real time.
What do you
It's
think
all
of my?
geometry. This shit's fascinating.
It is fascinating, but what do you think of my theory that video games and like VR and AR are going to help us unlock some of our
I
understanding
have
of
a,
like being
I actually
awake?
have a friend who, growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, he had mechanical nervous issues with his hands and eyes, and his doctor was very like at the time new age and cutting, and
Mm.
prescribed him to play video games for hand-eye coordination and motor skills, and he credits that to him overcorrecting his nerve problem, and he ended up being like an all-star lacrosse player at University of Kentucky.
That's
And
dope.
like he always credits his doctor as a kid prescribing him to play video games for motion and hand-eye coordination as what got him over that hill.
It makes sense. It makes sense because he was able to be in a different world while requiring his real world to be doing a thing. So he's able to like
Mhm.
overpower that. Because
Yeah,
that's like
have you
a
played
lot of
VR?
the, yeah,
Okay, it's an experience. Like
yeah.
it messes with my mind. And that's another thing. Like whenever breaching the subject, you bring this up, like it literally physically makes my head hurt because my analytic brain is trying to find a plausible thing to fill in the gap of what's missing here. You know what I mean?
When you're doing AR or when you're talking about the remote viewing.
Well, VR in general, I'm using it as an example of something I've done in real life that I
Hmm.
find very mind blowing. And your hypothesis that VR and AR could be cross bridges into this world of remote viewing to get the mind in the right spot. Because as
Right?
you said, like you talked about, the human mind's not fully unlocked. It's one of the things we talked about our whole existence as a species. Like the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper was all about taking a pill that unlocked more than 10% of your brain power.
That's dope. I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, you would love it. They made a TV show on it too. I haven't seen the TV show, but the movie's fantastic. He takes an experimental drug that the drug it's like Adderall. It's designed to unlock more than 10% of your brain power.
Yeah, I
And it
love
makes
that.
you like the smartest man who's super in tuned or
What's
woman.
gonna
Honestly.
My theory is that when we Neuralink, people are gonna think that they're faster, they're gonna think they have the thing, but really it's going to probably be like a suppressor to what we could really do without it. Pure blood, stay pure blood because you don't need that shit. I think
Yeah, I
we
would
have
never do.
the ability to, have you ever seen ghosts or had any kind of extra like anything that's
Paranormal,
happened to you?
yes, for sure.
Yeah, you
I
have?
like. I feel I've had paranormal experiences. At least I've had situations in my life that have happened that I can't explain logically.
You want me to tell
Would
you
you like
mine?
an example?
Yes, I would love an example.
We moved into a. So I grew up. Right now, I live at the place next to the farm I grew up on. But in '93, we moved into town from the farm into town. And when we were in town, I think we were in the house. We weren't in the house long. Couldn't have been more than 3 months. This is '93, so I'm like 7 years old at the time. I remember being in the basement because that's where like we had all our shit from moving in. And I
Hmm.
was by myself because it was the '90s and parents left kids home alone when they were 7 years old. You walked home from school by yourself and you stayed home until your mom got off work or dad got off work. And I was in the basement getting something, and I swear to God, it was like somebody hovering right over my shoulder and just quietly said, Barney. Like the name Barney, like the purple dinosaur Barney. Like that's what was said in my ear. It was clear as day. And I thought somebody was with me. I felt like somebody was with me. Turned around. I didn't see anything. Ran the fuck upstairs. Was a 7-year-old kid. Like lock every goddamn door to the basement and leave it alone. Come to find out, my parents bought the house from the bank because an older gentleman named Barney died in the house like a year and a half prior.
And you didn't know that till after you heard his
I
name?
did not know that till after.
So when
I
your
can't
parents came
explain it.
home, were you like, the Barney, I can't watch
No,
the TV?
I kept my mouth shut about it because I thought like people would think I'm crazy.
Mm. Yeah, you crazy boy. Okay, you want me to tell you mine?
Sure, I'm in.
You're not crazy, by the way. I do believe in this stuff. I just can't understand it. I just still believe in it. Even
I'm in
though
the
I
same boat
can't.
as you.
So I was 13, I think. I'm pretty sure it was the summer of like 1994. And I was a heathen. I was hanging out with my friends, and their parents let us do whatever the shit we wanted. And we were just playing games. It was me, my best friend, her stepbrothers and sisters. There was probably 6 of us. I don't really exactly remember. Probably the oldest was 15 or 16. And we had been, whatever, hanging out all day long. And they were like, at midnight, we could go see the ghosts. And I was like, okay, sweet. So we did what I think we were doing, like the pass out game, you know, the and you hold your
Yeah,
breath and
where
you
you
push it
breathe
in,
in,
you drool
get
for a
high, and
minute,
then
and you're,
pass out.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It's dumb, but I think that's what we were doing. And one of the
Was
guys
Fight
with
Club
us,
new at the time?
say it again.
Was the movie Fight Club new at the time?
No, it was 94, so I don't know that that was out yet.
Okay, because they talk about
But
it in
we,
Fight Club.
when we were just poor, so that's how we got high.
We got high off oxygen.
We got high off. Yeah, we passed each other out. But we had our one friend who was the oldest one there. He like passed out. You know what I mean? He was just sitting there acting, pretending. You know, he's that guy. And so I remember that because it was midnight when he was still passed out, and we were like, "Chris, let's go. The ghosts are here." And then he woke up. So he was just doing the pretend. He wanted attention. So anyways, we go walking down the road. We're in like, it's very rural. It's a dirt road, and we're probably a mile or so from like the actual city. And we start walking down the road, and we're in a line. There's probably, like I said, there's maybe 6 of us. I don't know how many people are on either side of me, but as we're walking, perfectly pitch black dark, walk, 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 boom, all of a sudden, we're walking north and south. We're actually heading north. The road only goes north and south. To the west is the Sierra Nevada mountains, and to the right is the next city. And as we're walking, it like the scene goes from black night to like a sepia tone. Everything is like browns. I'm standing on a street that doesn't go this way. It's going east and west. And there's like every woman is wearing a hat. That's what I remember thinking, like, why is everyone wearing a hat? And they're just carrying on about their business like we're not even there. I was like, I had the what the fuck thought. And then from out
You're
in
saying
the
this transition happened in real life, like what you were
yeah,
visually seeing,
yeah,
reality
it was
changed
just
around you.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then so I was with my girlfriend, and out of like the desert somewhere, her uncle called her name, Nina. And boop, everything went black again. We were back on the street, freaking out that somebody in the desert was calling
Did your
her
friend
name.
have the same experience you did?
I don't remember asking them about it then, and I've since asked them about it, and they don't remember.
So, well, now you're gonna really hurt my head, because this takes it out of viewing into like, you think
There's something else. Like,
you and your friend are walking, and reality changes around you. You're not in the same reality, but you are still present enough to where you can still see your friend in this alternated reality.
No, I don't remember seeing them there. I don't remember seeing them there at all. I just remember experiencing like the cars, it being like dusty, you know, it felt brown instead of night. And again, the women wearing hats, and everyone was actually wearing hats. I think the kids were wearing hats. And I remember thinking like years later, it like clicked for me. If everyone's wearing hats, then I should be able to know which year it was, because it's bothered me, I guess. Since then,
and that's what
you know.
I guess that's where I was going with my line of questioning. If it was so you weren't. Do you think you were in the same place physically, just a different period of time, or do you think you were in a different place and different time?
That's a good question. I don't think I could tell.
Now, obviously, in your reality, the actual reality, there wasn't cars passing by or people around.
There
correct?
was not even a road that went that way. But
okay.
You know, now the town that I was in was originally like the government came there first, and they used that particular town for who knows what, and then they ended up moving east to like not far east, and put their military base there. It's our largest land holding base, the China Lake Naval Weapons Center. And so I'm
familiar with China Lake.
That's where I live. And so
Okay.
I always thought that they picked it's Harvey Airfield, the original base, because of the ley lines there, and that there was some kind of
I've
energy
been where
that they
you
were
lived.
interested in. You've been here?
Yeah.
So has President
The
Kennedy.
program I used to work for, like we shut it down, but we had part of our program was out of China Lake. Part of the function of our system was out of China Lake.
Mm, yeah, it's I guess that it's pretty clean air out here. Not a lot of the pollution from LA yet, so
Hmm. Okay.
that's why.
So, do you still vividly remember the people who were wearing hats and the cars passing by, or is it all a blur?
I want to say it feels vivid.
Do you remember if like the cars and the hats seemed older than current reality, about the same
Oh yeah,
time as your current reality?
older. It all
Okay,
seemed
so
way
like
older.
Model Ts and stuff like that, and the
Yes, like
hats
the
were like either
40s or
straw
some shit.
hats or big hats,
Yeah,
like newsboy hats. Okay,
yeah,
so because I didn't want to take out the option of maybe you were seeing into the future,
yeah. Oh, that's true. I never even thought about that.
and
That's
that's
weird
something you
that I
could
never
dictate
thought
by
about
the
that.
idea. Well, if you saw the cars that you knew were older
Yeah,
cars and the hats that you knew were older hats, something that you would never dream the future to be. But then again, none of us know what the future is
right.
because we haven't
So I wouldn't have
experienced it
been
yet.
able, yeah, like according to what they're saying here, I would have only been able to apply what I knew to it. So
Mhm.
because not until this moment had I even considered it being the future, I've always applied past thoughts to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I was asking if there's no roads. That to me screams, oh well, then it would be the future because any roads of the past would be in that area, or you were in a different place completely in time, like you
Right.
weren't even in the same place. But that's interesting. I've never had that experience in reality. I had dreams where that's happened to me. And dreaming is like a big weird thing for me because I truly do log. Like whenever I have a dream that I feel is entertaining, like it would be a good, like Daniel said, a good idea for a movie, a sketch, a TV show. Like I'll log it down. Like I had one recently that I thought would have made a great like pay-per-view movie, like not Cinemax or Skinemax, but like in that vein because it wasn't a sex dream. There was sex in the dream, but it wasn't a sex dream. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't anybody I knew. Like it was like I was watching a movie that was my dream, and I'm like, why the fuck did this happen? But the premise and the idea and the plot behind it of my dream, I thought was fucking phenomenal because I'm like, ooh, there's a story there. There's a
Yeah.
really good, intriguing story
Well,
there.
I mean, what's her name? J.K. Rowling, didn't she come up with fucking Harry Potter in her dreams? I'm
I
pretty
have
sure
no idea.
almost all of the like super famous shit has happened in someone's dreams first. Probably not almost all. I hope nobody's watching because that could just be true if nobody's watching. Between me and
Like, are
you,
you
all
saying
the famous
deja
shit
vu?
comes from dreams. Deja vu? Say it again.
Are you talking about deja vu?
No, I'm talking about like the whole. I'm pretty sure like Star Wars also was a dream thing, but I'm pretty sure like the whole plot line, all of the shit for Harry Potter came to J.K. Rowling in a dream, and she just woke up and wrote it down.
Yeah, that wouldn't
So
surprise
that's what
me.
you're doing. They say that when you dream, if you're trying to lucid dream anyway, that writing it down helps your subconscious cue the fact that you find this important. You find, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So that you can
I
continue to do
yes,
that
and
and
I've
find
done a
that
lot of look into
possibility.
like lucid dreaming at one time like was a big like something that I researched quite a bit in my life. Like there's like methods you could do before you like as you're going to sleep, like
Hmm.
self countdowns, like I don't want to say counting sheep, but there's like different activities like that you can do to invoke lucid dreaming. And I remember like my first lucid dream I had like when I was like 24, 25 in the military. I was like, holy shit, this felt so real. Like I felt pain, I felt touch, I felt warmth, I felt like
That's
the
weird.
difference in textures, like senses, like
Yeah.
smells, stuff like that. And like I really went down a huge rabbit hole with it. And I'm fascinated with dreams because I don't dream all the time. Like it's not every night I don't have a dream. But when I do
Hmm.
have a dream, I will wake up and I will write it down. I'll use the notes app on my phone and literally just grab it and be like, okay, basic plot line, this, and this, and this. So the next day when I like officially wake up and have the coffee and I read through it, it's like it triggers my mind where like I can remember the details as to where if you don't do that, they're completely lost.
Yeah. Oh, I wake up and tell my dreams, and it's like I'll remember just the strangest shit. It's so weird. It's like it happened. Some of
Hmm.
if I dream, I always remember. It's always something. And for a while, I was writing the strange shit down. But when I was trying to lucid dream, I ended up doing it twice. The second time, I was saying earlier, I think I might have been astral projecting and not lucid dreaming, even though I didn't know about that. I didn't, based on what this lady was telling me today, there's like 5 steps to it. One of them is like you have to kind of go to sleep, but without going to sleep, right? You're getting into that
Mhm.
state. So she was saying, like, don't lay in your bed, because when you're in your bed, that's where you go to sleep. Your body is accustomed to like going to
Mhm.
sleep. So she's like, find a different place that's comfortable and fall asleep there. Well, the second time I lucid dreamt, um, I was on my bed, but I was laying at the foot of my bed, and it was during the day, like midday, and I don't take naps or anything during the day, so I was laying down tired, but with the intention of staying awake, because I wasn't going to go to sleep. My son's awake, you know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
just wasn't going to be sleeping. So and the lady today, she was like, if you have to use your bed, lay in it the opposite way, like put your head where your feet are. I was in the shower listening to this lady today. I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what happened. And then she said, once you really start getting into that state where you're going to like basically be in that hypnotic state,
Mhm.
you'll feel something. Some people feel different things. She's like, I felt a tingling. I felt a tingling too. That feeling of when your hands fall asleep, or one of your legs or whatever falls
Yeah.
asleep,
Yeah.
that like
Like the
static
needles,
feeling.
like 10,000 needles just lightly tapping your
But
skin.
not to the bad point. It was like the wave
Mhm.
of it. I just felt the wave of it go over, and I was still conscious while that was
Yeah.
happening, because I remember thinking, I need to move my arm or something. You know what I mean? Like when you start feeling it and you're like, gotta straighten out because my blood's not getting to my fingers or whatever. I remember thinking that, but I didn't do anything about it. I never actually applied myself. And then I think the next thing I know, I don't exactly remember that dream anymore. It's written down. The times I lucid dreamt, I wrote them down because I was trying to be purposeful. But yeah, I was like, that's fascinating. It never made sense to me,
I,
how to get comfortable enough to do it. I'm always trying to do it in bed before I go to sleep at night.
if I've experienced what you've experienced, and I think I have, I think I know exactly like what stage you're talking about. I have those periods where like when I get in that stage, I don't know what it is, but I start thinking about all the bad shit in the world.
Mm.
Wars, bills that have to be paid, stuff like that. And what I've learned is when you're in that state, for some reason, my mind instantly always starts thinking about the bad. It makes me see like, have you ever watched Avengers? Is it
Mm-mm.
Endgame? No, what's the one before Endgame? First
I
one,
haven't seen
Infinity
any of
War,
them.
where like he's looking at like, you haven't. So Doctor Strange in the movie, he in like a matter of 15 seconds has a vision, 14 million different visions of how the world plays out, like all the decisions of everything, and he does this all in 15 seconds. That's what it feels like for me. It's like the best way to describe it, where like I just start envisioning the world and all the bad things happening and where this possibly leads. And
So
it's like when I'm in that state, my mind can rush through that thought. Like I don't know what it is, but something unlocks there. Now, with lucid dreaming, when I got fascinated with it, and I'm curious to know this about you, have you ever been in a dream where you consciously in the dream knew it was a dream?
yeah.
That was what I wanted to unlock when I started discovering lucid dreaming and getting into it. I wanted to have the ability where any dream I'm in, I can realize that this is because that was my biggest problem. Like I couldn't decipher between reality and a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And once you realize you're in a dream, you can teach yourself to control.
To
It's
wake
like
up.
playing Minecraft and playing
Yes.
Minecraft on creative mode. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And it's
exactly.
super cool.
100%. That's what happened to me when in my first ever lucid dream, where I'm 1,000% sure. I was walking with my little sister. Sister said, inappropriately said, in my dream, and we're walking by a wall. It's weird because I think in both or three of the trigger dreams where I can remember lucid dreaming, it was I had to turn a corner. Like the turning of the corner is something that happened. Anyways, so
Just
we're
stuck.
walking and she's telling me something about the election. And she says, blah, blah, blah about the election. And I'm like, what'd you say? And she doesn't want to tell me again. And for some reason, she's like afraid to say it. And I'm trying to get her to tell me like in code, like we were on the internet, like YouTube is watching. And I'm like, and so when I'm trying to get her to do this, I realize I'm dreaming. And I was like, oh, if you're dreaming, so I tell her, hey, I'm dreaming. We're dreaming. You can say it however you want. Say whatever you want. You can tell me in any way you can think of, because this isn't real. And we walk around the corner and she's going, no, I don't want to tell you. No, or something. And we walk I don't know, 20 feet, and she goes into a house, and I'm just standing there outside the house like, what the fuck? And I was like, well, if I'm lucid dreaming, then I should be able to fly, poof, as high as you could go. I was like, oh, and
Exactly.
then I was scared. Then I had the, the butterflies of heights? That happened to me, and I woke up.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. It was like, as soon as I applied my consciousness to it, I became conscious. It's like deja vu.
Yeah, and you unlocked creative mode. You used a power that you'd never used before.
Yeah.
And instead of you going with it, like it scared you abruptly, which snapped you out of the state and out of the dream. That's happened to me 1,000 times.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out to where I can control it. And let me tell you, there's nothing more cooler than being in 100% control of your lucid dreams.
yeah.
It is the best.
Well, the lady I was hearing today that was talking about astral projection, she was saying, like, there are a lot of different ways you can go. Like, it could be scary, or it could be, just, it depends kind of where you're at if you're going to have a bad trip, I guess. So for you, the fact that you see all of the negative shit, that, like,
that just happens to me all the time, like
when
I'm falling asleep and I'm in that in-between state. Like at nighttime when I'm laying in bed and I'm getting there and I feel that tingle across my body, like instantly my mind, and it's not always the bad things in the world, it could be any subject whatsoever that's happening in my life at the time, but like my mind just turns it up to 11. You know what I mean? And I start running through different scenarios about everything in my life.
Can you pause it like you're Neo?
No.
Have you ever tried?
And that's what happens is it gets so worked up to the point where it snaps me out of reality and I'm awake when I was trying, like, because I'm in the state of trying to go to bed. I'm like, I laid down with the expectation to go to bed, and it was that hitting that perfect sweet in between spot of awake and sleep, like where your body's starting to get. That's what I'm talking about. It's that area.
Yep, that's where you want to be. Well, that's where you want to be to access like whatever these people are able to access. I think that's
now,
why if you can get there, you probably would be way better at being a remote viewer than you're giving yourself credit for.
Well, no, here's the thing. I don't think so. And this was my next question to you was going to be: do you think remote viewing, lucid dreaming, and astral projecting? Do you think there is a deep connection between the three? Because I don't.
Deja vu.
I don't.
How come?
I don't think they're connected. Like I don't know why. To me, one is blatantly in the field of reality where like, and this is stupid, like my brain thinking, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not going into like a meditative state when doing remote viewing, right? It's literally like you're in a room with a monitor and you could close your eyes. Like, is there a period of like cooldown? I don't know, because I'm not understanding all.
So they're the two people in the remote viewers. One's the question asker. The other one is getting into they're whatever it is. Like you could be a meditative state, whatever it is to relax them. Some of them listen to music for 5 minutes, or
is there a video of this?
I bet there is. Okay, hold on. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I can find some, because there's a big archive on this, and there's at least audio. Let me see if I can find any video.
Remote viewing sessions. Let's see what YouTube has for us. Edward Borden, Bob Lazar, RV whiteboard session. Not remote viewing. Whiteboard session.
Here we go. The CIA has a whole bunch of shit. It's just a matter of sifting.
I don't think we're gonna have access to those CIA.
No, we do.
Videos and tapes.
We do. It's in there. It's a whole FOIA portion of their CIA's government site. But I
want to see the monitor and the person who does the remote viewing sitting in the same room on camera and just watch the process play out. To me, that I'd find that fascinating. Laura Day, remote viewing exercise.
Try Ingo Swan. I'm looking.
She's one of those ladies who.
The power of Christ.
And it looks like she's filming this on a Nokia brick phone from 2006.
Let me see.
Why do all these women always have a lot of cleavage? What is up with that?
Maybe that helps. Long hair and big titties. That'll
Yeah,
probably
it
make
helps.
you be able to see the future.
It helps the viewer not pay attention to the science of it and just be like, yeah, I'll go along with this.
He's like,
This
she's
all makes
right. I'm
sense.
pretty sure. The bigger the titties, the
Whatever
more
she's
right she
saying,
is.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cup size is correlated with intelligence. Everybody knows that.
Everyone. I don't. Maybe they did.
26 people watching and only 12 likes. Be better, people. Be better.
Do better. I don't see. I see some videos of the.
Isn't this crazy that you find so much text on this? And like, it is fascinating, but we have no recorded footage, even audio, of a session playing.
There's audio. I've heard the audio.
Note to self: make comedy sketch for show about remote viewing.
This is real. I do believe in remote viewing. This ain't it.
Do I believe it? I believe that humans have skills that cannot be explained by science. I'm not discounting it to say I don't believe in it. I just don't think a lot of people can do this. Like, I believe in the writing it said anybody could do this with practice.
Latent ability, yeah.
Okay, see, I don't think that. I think there's people who just curse that they're not going to have. I think there's something that you have to have in your brain function to unlock this. And either you have it or you don't.
Like
and I think
people can sing.
Sure. Like me, I don't think I can do this. And the reason I don't think I can do it is because it seems like there's an aspect to the, like lucid dreaming and controlling dreaming. It is a studied science where there are steps that you can true and eyes follow to get good at it. And like, if my retarded self can pick up the information and read it and figure it out, anybody can do it. But like, from what I've seen about this, and I haven't done a deep dive into this, but it just doesn't seem like you can do that with this. Or at least it's not been studied long enough to find patterns and recognition in it, which is kind of like the big issue of everything we're talking about with it.
I think there has. What happened is it wasn't good enough to be relied on for intel. You know what I mean? But it was reliable enough. Like the one woman, what was her name? Hella Hammond, I think was her name. She was, I think she was one of the better ones. So maybe she had big titties or something, but she was like, she was just off the streets good at it. So you might be right. Like there's probably an aspect that is you're inherently good at it. But I do think you can be trained for sure. It's like looking at those pictures after a while. There are people who get it and people who don't get it. Some that eventually can do it faster because they learn how to relax their eyes, you know what I mean, and let go of their thoughts.
I put this in the same realm of I don't think every woman who owns a crystal ball and a deck of tarot cards can predict your future. However, I do think there are people out there that do possess that skill and have that skill set. It's just a natural God-given, Mother Nature given, whatever you want to call it, ability that they've stumbled onto and unlocked in their lives. I think there's a lot more frauds out there than there is actual legit people who can do it, though.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it makes me feel the same way. I'm like, okay, yeah, totally. But when I think about it the other way, I'm like, no, we could all do it because I want to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to do it too, but like,
I want to do it, so I believe.
Here's what scares me about your show, Divinity, and all the shit you tackle. Like, I do get into it, like when you're going and reading it, and I'm like, oh fuck. You ever heard Joe Rogan say, I don't want to learn a new hobby because I get addicted to knowledge? Like, I'm that same way. When he says that, I understand it. And this is like something I'm like, I don't want this to fucking consume my life. I don't want this to be something I have to think about and put brain resources.
That's the beautiful thing, though. Like I've said this before, I think in 100 years or less, probably 50, 100 years maybe, they're going to laugh at us where we just laid around sleeping and dreaming all night without utilizing it, tapping into information or each other or whatever. Just like you said, being able to fast forward through all of your decisions. Maybe that's not how you want to do it, but there could be a way where you could fast forward through every book you've read or every face you saw, or who knows what it will be. But we don't expend energy for no reason. We almost all dream So I think that there's something that to this that we're all supposed to be able to do.
Okay, so now do you think something like Neuralink is going to be the thing that unlocks that?
I think Neuralink is going to be what the elites in the world, because the world is the world, right? It's the darkness, the whatever. I think that's the world's answer to what we can naturally do. And I think some people will be better at fooling others into thinking. I don't know. I think it's just going to be artificial. It's going to be a
Right, that's what I
weak
think.
interpretation of what people can naturally do, but without working that muscle, it'll be the shortcut, right? The shortcut society, which just wants to be able to do it. They don't want
I
to
think
lift any
it's
mental weights.
I think it's going to be the modern day equivalent of magic, like what we look at as magic now. Like if you're not a magician and you don't know the trick, to you it's whimsical. It's something you can't explain, but the magician knows exactly what he's doing, how to deceive you and how to clue you. I think the same thing with this Neuralink. I look at like cell phones. It didn't make us smarter as a population. It actually made us dumber and lazier because nobody can answer a math problem without reaching into their pocket and grabbing their computer. Nobody can talk about anything like dates and history off the top of their head and have reasonable, intelligent conversations from the heart and what they're feeling. They go into their pocket and see what their pocket tells them to think. I think Neuralink is just going to be that evolution where humans think they're smarter, but they're not. They're more retarded.
I
And
agree.
like, have you seen the new
And they
South Park
will
special?
be smarter because they'll have more information at their ready, but they won't actually be smarter.
They won't have practical experience.
Right.
The new South Park special, Into the Pandaverse. So they touch on something similar to this, where everybody's so reliant on Siri and their cell phones to explain every situation in the world that the number one paying job and the richest people are handymen, because you can ask Siri, "Hey Siri, how do I fix the hinges on my cabinets?" And she'll give you step by step, but you actually have to physically do the work.
You have to
And
turn
like
a wrench, right?
Yeah, and it's so the answer to every problem becomes call a handyman.
Call
Like
somebody.
to do something as innate as tighten the screws on the hinges of the door, and that'll fix the door. Like they call a handyman, and the handyman's like, "I'm sorry, I've got 150 calls. If you want me to come tighten the screws on the hinges on your door,
Is it plugged in, ma'am?
You've got to pay me $20,000 for me to show up
Right?
at your house." You know what I mean? And handymen become the richest people in the world, and then they like handymen build space programs with
Well,
all their newfound riches.
It's already
It's
kind
funny.
of
I'd
like
recommend
that.
it.
Like
That's what I'm saying.
plumbers and trashmen are already like extremely well paid, but people just assume that this is a shitty job. Like no one wants to do it, so they actually get paid pretty all right.
All right, I feel like I hijacked your stream.
No, I love it. I
Sorry.
didn't have anything else to talk about. This is perfect. I just have one more thing to show you. Have you heard of this thing called thispersondoesn'texist.com?
Fuck you, Divinity. I'm going to thispersondoesn'texist.com.
No,
I have not.
For you. Here it is.
Oh,
Every
that
time
guy
you go
doesn't
to
exist?
thispersondoesn'texist.com, it just shows you a person, an AI person who does not exist. This is an AI image.
This is an AI image. But hold on. Now, time out. AI cannot have an original concept or thought. So AI is pulling from every image on the internet to make an image of somebody that they reasonably don't think exists. But in order to do that, they have to use functions from people who did exist to create the person who didn't exist. Like those eyes existed on somebody. That forehead existed on somebody.
That part. Many aspects of this eye could have existed, but not that eye. So this AI is clearly smarter than the AIs we know. So in order to get a new person,
Is
you
that
have
because
to
he's
like
Indian?
refresh
Are you
the
saying that
page.
because he's Indian?
We're gonna find somebody we know. You just watch. Is this you?
No, that's not me. I wish that was me. I'd get so much tail. Next. Look at that hairline, too.
Yeah, let's refresh. Bitch, you're not real.
That chick exists. That chick
does exist. This is everyone's cousin.
She works at a DMV in Iowa.
Yeah, she does.
And she's smiling because she
She's
just
too
told
nice
you
for
you owe me
DMV.
$357 in parking fines. And she's giving you that look after saying you owe me
This is a
$357 in
crossing
parking
guard.
fines.
I've seen her at
No,
the crossing guard. She holds a
DMV.
stop sign.
This is
DMV
interesting.
ladies are
See, now
mean.
this is a fun game. This is a fun game.
Hold on. What about him? He's a serial killer.
That guy exists. I'm with
he's
you
a
on serial killer. But like he's the serial killer that nobody expected. Like once they find the 15 bodies under his porch, he's the one that when they're talking to all of his office coworkers, they were like, I would have never saw this coming. Tim was so quiet.
100% Tim. Yeah, 100% he has an accent.
Are you saying a foreign accent or an American regional
Russian.
accent?
Russian.
No, I see an American regional accent.
Where?
I see like that Montana twang, that like, you know, between Pac Northwest and Midwest. That
You
like
know, they're
we were
no, this
cowboys,
guy.
but we weren't the ones who did it in the sun. We're the cowboys who did that shit in the snow.
He's the Fed. That's all I know. Let's see one more guy.
I mean,
I believe you. He
I feel like
doesn't
I've seen this guy 1,000 times.
No.
I feel like he works at an IT department at a company I used to work with, and like I'd see him in passing whenever I was at that company.
What is
I
it
mean,
that
I'm racial
makes us?
stereotyping with all of these, by the
Oh
way.
yeah. I wonder what makes us odd, like one eye bigger than the other eye. This little bit of like, you know,
Well, everybody's got those imperfections.
human. Yeah, I wonder if that's what's making us. Because when you usually see an AI person, they're like six-fingered and beautiful skin. This looks like a regular person. So do you think that's why it's so
Let me
bizarre
ask
that
you.
these
Let
aren't
me ask
real?
you this: what's your personal physical imperfection that you see and you think everybody in the world sees, but nobody actually does?
Uh, how do I know nobody actually does?
Because
I think they all
people would
see it.
talk to you about it daily, like, "Oh my god, what
The
the fuck is
fuck?
that thing growing out of your right eye?"
No, no. People don't bring shit up. They let you be. They let you act a fool.
Well, yeah, because they're
Okay.
polite. For me, I'll give it here. For me, I broke my right pinky, and I can't straighten it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's not
So,
something it's not something nobody notices, but like I'm always self-conscious. Like, are they looking at my hand? Are they looking at my fucked up pinky that I can't straighten? Like, see how that pinky's straight?
mm-hmm.
There
Now
we
we
go.
are.
And that one's curved. Like I can't physically straighten it.
And so that is your thing that you think about that nobody else is probably thinking
Yeah.
about as much as you do.
What was the
Um,
movie? She's Out of Your League. Have you ever seen that movie?
I'm not sure.
It's got T.J. Miller and I can't think of the other guy, but it's like the nerd who works for TSA who ends up dating the real hot chick that's out of his league. And like
Mm-hmm.
they're dating and he's nervous to be around her. And then like he tells her, like, you know, what's a girl that as beautiful as you doing with an ugly nerd like me? And she's like, I'm not perfect. That's just how you perceive me. And then she pulls off her foot and like she has like a half a web toe on her big toe and middle toe. And he's like, that's it? That's your big imperfection?
That's funny. I don't really know like I'm really like clumsy and I feel like it's so goddamn obvious to the whole entire world.
Like you
But
bump into shit when you're walking?
um I guess I don't know. I'm awkward. Maybe that's the better word for it.
Oh, I agree
Like
110% with that.
everything I do is just very I'm not meaning to do it. It's just I have to outsource everything to this body. And so
You do, and I'm not saying this like don't take it over this, but like I think I understand what you're saying. Like you always seem like you're fish out of water.
yeah, and I'm not. It's just
Yeah,
it's not what's happening.
it's just one of the
Maybe I
things about
am.
you.
I think do you know what your personality have you ever done like a Myers-Briggs
Never,
personality
not
type?
once. I think
Would
they're
you?
all bullshit. Would I? Of
This
course, I
one
would do it, but I think they're all
okay.
bullshit.
You should do
I
it
think
because
is the result. Can we pull up like the results tab? Because I think they're horoscopes. I think anything in the Myers Briggs that I've ever read or looked at could apply to any human being in some way, shape, or form. And I think we as humans go like today. I posted that thing, the Urban Dictionary trend. Post your name from Urban Dictionary, and here's what your name means. I think all of them are funny, but they could apply to every human being on the planet.
hold on one second. You need my help, buddy? Okay, hold on. I'll be out in just a second. The show is
We could,
over, y'all.
yeah, we
Unless you
could.
want to sit and chat with chat. But
No, I'm good.
that's really all I was doing for remote viewing today. It's 2:22, 2:23. This is about the time where I'm like, okay, I feel like that's a good time for a show.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't. I
Vicky
wish I
made
had
it
that
too.
clock.
You don't see the clock on your
No,
streaming
I wish I had
viewing?
a clock like that when I'm streaming. Because either like I want to do an hour and 20 minutes, or it's like 9 hours all night rage. And
Well,
that's one of the reasons
I
I do a format is to keep me in a timeline of like, let's
that's what
end
I
this
did. That's what
reasonably.
I did. I made myself a little format. I have my 3 sections. The last section is this one. This person doesn't exist, although I have a way better website. Now that I got the remote viewing out of the way, I have such a cool thing to do next Thursday. It's going to
I
be just bullshit or fun. I might even drink for it.
I'd be so curious to watch a Divinity reality show. Just for the simple fact of like the subjects you talk about in Breach, there has to be stuff throughout your normal day where you discover this and stumble upon it, and you're like, "This is going into the spiral notebook of shit I'm going to talk about on a stream." Like this is gonna, and
Oh, yeah.
I want to see that process play out. And I do want to say I appreciate you giving me credit for like the ideas that I come up with. Your show looks great. The overlays, the graphics, the background look great. I think it's really building the show and making it look better. And I'm glad that I inspired that. But so everybody knows, that's all you. You're the one doing the work. And I love it because I know how hard it is to do this shit, like trying to find the time to sit down in Photoshop or whatever editing program you're using to do this. So I hope the viewers do appreciate like the looks that she's putting into her show to try to make it better for the viewing enjoyment, because it takes a lot of personal time. So
Thank you.
mad respect, homie.
Thanks. I really appreciate you. I love looking over to you guys and seeing what you guys are doing because you're successful. Your show is great. It's successful.
I wouldn't go that
Your
far.
community. Okay, well, it is. I'm a great gauge at this because I've been doing it for 3 months.
I've been doing
No,
it a
I'm
while.
just kidding. I've been doing this for like 6 months. I'm a professional. No, seriously, I do. I look up to you guys. I think you guys are awesome. And that's it. Thank you for joining me. I love
for having me.
somebody on live with me. Today, I just was like, live. I hit the live button. I don't have time to think about not doing the show.
Well, as soon as you pulled open the report and we're like side rail, and I'm like, oh god, this is gonna hurt me because I actually like I've studied this and I know like about this, and I only touched the iceberg with this. There is like college courses, there's YouTube videos. I strongly recommend. It is super fascinating and interesting.
Did you love that my description was basically when the sun comes up? So I started with it being completely
you're almost
wrong.
there. I was like, you're kind of in the right ballpark, but wrong object.
Completely wrong. You're so close. It's real cute, but you an idiot.
But like you had the pointing thing. Like that's a commonly used practice on how to explain solar inside real time. Is going out and pointing at an object in the sky.
Well,
It's just the one object that you pointed out is the only one that would have been wrong.
You can't.
You could have literally picked anything else.
Even the
Except
moon.
for a satellite, a man-made satellite. That
Oh,
doesn't work
that's
on
funny.
side real time.
Well, I appreciate having you on. Thank you, Daniel and Vicky, for hanging out and chat with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you both beautiful.
I
I love you both.
I'll be back Monday. What are you doing? Do you have anything happening? You stream Saturday?
Start my new job on Monday.
Oh shit.
Life gets real again on Monday, which
So
sucks
this is
because I
your
don't get to
last
watch Snowden Kid.
Saturday of
Unemployed.
freedom. Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone, what time does your show start? 7 Central?
7 Central, we don't have a guest this week because I am booked to go on another show that I don't want to talk about on this show because I don't want to make anybody's feelings upset or mad.
Oh, he's gonna let the frog turn him gay.
Well, I planned on going on, and I've said it to you on our show. I'll say it here. I have no bad blood with anybody. All I want is the drama stayed out of my community. Don't bring the drama to my community. As long as I can get along with everybody, and as far as the drama goes, I'm not involved. I don't care. I love you. I love Vicky. I love Boom. I love Beautifully. I like Frog. I have no issues with him. He's never done anything to me personally. Like, as long as we can all get along copacetically, we'll be fine. If anybody brings drama to my community, then we're going to have talks.
Yeah. Don't let it happen. So you'll be on Conversations with Cool Frog Saturday earlier, and then
After,
after.
we're going to do our show. We're going to do our show, and then we did not book a guest, so we didn't have to do an after hours, so I could specifically go and be on that show.
Got it.
This has been planned now for a while. So.
Cool. All right. So then check. I highly recommend Sibling Revelry. I don't have our tags on. That's a problem.
You don't have to worry about me. I don't care. Everybody here knows about me. And if they're watching, check me out, Sibling Revelry on Rumble.
Yeah.
Sib_Rev on Twitter.
Yeah. Check us out.
Come hang with the cool kids.
He does have a cool kid community. Your community is super dope. I love them. I'm like, you made my year coming into our lives.
Thanks. I like to think my community is everything the libertarian community wants their community to be. Like, we're people who truly don't judge each other. We don't give a fuck, but you're going to get made fun of. And as long as you don't hurt anybody or harm anybody, everybody's kind of cool. And everybody's unique and weird. That's what I like about it. We're all retarded.
Yeah. I like it. I do like that it's unique and weird. That's why I was asking you about Myers-Briggs, is that the weirdness that is me, I feel like comes along with my personality type. And once I learned my personality type, I was like, oh, it really did help me go, oh, okay, so I'm not weird. There are people like me, and like I've actually found a little INFJ community that I can hang out in where I don't feel fucking weird because they think the weird shit that I do. Like, I don't want to do small talk. I don't give a fuck about the weather, but I do want to talk about time travel a little bit. Like, I have a theory.
Oh,
You know
girl,
what I
me
mean?
and you
So
could go for
that
hours on time travel.
see, like that weirdness about me, I have found my home learning Myers-Briggs and like how people's extroverted senses and their judgment and like things like that work together to be the like to create a person. I think we should do a show on this.
I'm down.
Okay, my
I'm
son's
always
back. He
down.
really needs me.
All right,
So
bye, bye.
I'm gonna
Go.
leave. Bye, chat.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Take it
Bye.
easy.